Welcome back, everybody. So technically, this is part of my So You Pulled a Showcase series, which is my deck walkthrough series. This deck I have specifically constructed to be good into this meta. And when I'm talking about meta, I'm talking about Piett Blue, Quinlan Tarkentown, this Boba yellow burn deck that's coming up, Han 1 yellow, and Jango Tarkentown most notably. Yes, you're still going to see Sabines. You're still going to see like Luke Greens because people are going to try and go for their showcases and whatnot. This deck is specifically tailored towards Hans, Quinlans, Pietts, but it also has enough interaction that you can kind of compete into almost any other deck. Our hardest matchups right now are probably Sabine ECL and Gar Saxon yellows. Those are our biggest weaknesses. So this video is expecting you to be a complete beginner with Palpatine or a complete beginner in general, and you want to pick up the deck and go from complete novice to winning games. So I'm going to put on screen now, like always, the video format. These will be the chapters in the description, so if you're only interested in a specific part, you're more than welcome to skip to that section. However, I highly recommend you watch the entirety of the video. You can watch it on 1.5 speed. I'm a slow talker, but I'm going to talk about literally everything that you could possibly want with this deck. From why Palpatine, what is he good at, all the way to specific matchups and sideboarding options later on. And then spotlight games at the end. So please watch it over multiple sessions, hang out, watch me at 1.5 times speed, but let's get right into it. Since we're talking about the meta, I want to show you my win rates. So the current win rates that I have is 47 wins to 28 losses. So I've played 75 games with this deck. I've actually played more. Before I started tracking my wins and losses, I was playing other games, and actually I think I was undefeated in like the 5 to 6 games that I didn't track. For the arguments of this video, 47 wins, 28 losses, which puts me at like a 63% win percentage. So I'm happy. A 63% win rate, if you're unfamiliar with card games, is exceptionally high. Typically, decks are supposed to have like 54 to 55% win rates to be really, really good. So I don't expect this to hold up. And I'm not trying to say like I'm the best player in the world, but a 63% win rate is exceptionally good. I just want to contextualize that for a bunch of people because they might think that that doesn't seem like a big number, but I promise you in card games, that is an insanely high number. So key matchups. Now these are matchups that I'm expecting that I will see a lot of if you take this deck to a showdown, a PQ, a sectional. So into Luke Green, I'm 4-0. Into Piett Blue, I'm 3-0. Into Quinlan Tarkentown, I'm 3-1. 7-4 into Jango Tarkentown. 2-3 into Boba Yellow Burn. 2-3 into Han 1 Yellow. And I just want to note into the Han 1 Yellow matchup, I've only drawn Scanning Officer in my opening hand one time. And I will show you a game, I think I have 2 games recorded, of a Han Yellow game where I misplayed and didn't have Scanning Officer in my hand, and the other game where I had Scanning Officers, and I just want to show you how different the games went. So stay tuned for that for the spotlight games. Lastly, I would say our worst matchup is definitely Sabine ECL, but I'm 2-4 into it. If you're 2-4 into your worst matchup, I haven't played that many games, and these are all of these matchups and all of this win rate is pre-sideboard. I haven't done any sideboard games yet. And I think with sideboarding, I'm pretty sure that we can bump this number up. I still don't think we're going to get to a 50-50 with Sabine. I think that is just dream territory. If our worst matchup is like 35 to 40% win rate, I'll take that any day of the week, especially if it's Sabine ECL, which isn't that great right now. But again, it's Sabine ECL. People are going to be playing it, so you have to expect it. Just hope that you're not playing Sabine ECLs. Palpatine and his ability. He's a command villain leader. And he deploys on 8 as a 4/10, and his leader ability is you pay 1 resource and exhaust him, and you have to defeat a friendly unit. Then you must deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. If you do this and you have 2 units and your opponent doesn't have any, you do deal 1 damage to another friendly unit. Most times that doesn't actually happen. And then when Palpatine's deployed, he probably has the strongest leader deploy in the game. When you deploy him, you get to take control of a damaged non-leader unit. And then on attack, you defeat another friendly unit, and then you deal 1 damage to a unit and draw a card. So essentially, his leader ability is an on-attack ability, but he also gets the when deployed. That's extremely strong. Now, you might be asking, why play Palpatine? especially into this really aggressive meta. Why are we playing the only leader that flips on 8? And that's a good question. We get Turbo Ramp with Super Laser Technician, Resupply, and the brand new Resupply Carrier. That's 9 ramp cards, if we include 3 ofs in the deck, which I do. And that's super important because if we ramp twice by turn 4, that means on our next turn, we can Super Laser Blast most leader flip turns. So in Star Wars Unlimited, your leader flip is most likely is your strongest turn because you get a free unit. It does a lot of things. You still get to play all your resources out. If we ramp twice into anything but Turbo Aggro, we can essentially let their leader turn play out, absorb the damage, Super Laser Blast, and then we finish the game off, our big ships, our removal, our Palpatine flip. So we get the Turbo Ramp package. We get Scanning Officers, which are so good right now. Any green deck, even Luke Green, should be running 3 Scanning Officers, in my opinion. Scanning Officers can single-handedly win you the games against Hans, Quinlans, and even Sabines, because you can pop Cassians in the resource row. You also get your Maul's Invaders, which are really just good cards to ambush leaders and ground units. And then we get top end with Relentless and Devastator. The only thing green is super weak in is removal and disruption. So you see Palpatine paired with yellow or blue. And there are people running yellow Palpatines right now. But I'm going to contend that blue Palpatine is just better. It actually might not be better in the mirror. Palpatine yellow may actually be better against blue Palpatine in the mirror. I've not played any of those games. It might be close to a 50-50. So to make up for our lack of removal, again, I am suggesting blue. And why blue? It has the best single target removal in the game. You get Power of the Dark Side, direct hit, takedowns, no glory only results, and perilous positions. These cards are just really good. 3 Power of the Dark Siding a leader is like one of the best feelings you can have in the game. Perilous position exhausting things is also just really good. Direct hit and takedown are good in this meta because a lot of early units have 5 HP and people are playing a lot of vehicles. No glory only results is a really good vanquish and prevents a lot of the common units you're going to see. Things like K2SO and Ruthless Raiders. We also get Vigilance for 6, which even at 6 is a bonkers card. Most times you play Vigilance and it's something like an 8 health swing because you heal 5 and defeat a unit with 3 or less HP, which typically, it's like 3 attack. So an 8 HP swing, typically pretty good, especially since we're trying to live to the late game. And you get Super Laser Blast. Super Laser Blast is crazy. Since we got Resupply Carrier, we can more consistently get to 8 resources 2 turns early. And if we just Super Laser Blast the board and then have Palpatine in our back pocket as a steal a card and then you just take over, it's nuts. And then you get Dr. Pershing and Avenger. Avenger is super good because you play it, it defeats something, and then as you keep swinging in, you keep defeating things, you're just taking over the game. Dr. Pershing is an all-star. Despite what anybody tells you, card advantage is so good. And card advantage is just not how many cards do you have. Card advantage is I have seen more cards in my deck than you have. Pershing doesn't get ping Tarkin Towned. He has fake Sentinel because even aggro decks trade into Pershing because the drawing a card is so powerful this early on in the game. We're going to talk about it next, but Pershing needs to be in the deck because we are running Colossus. In my videos, I like to ask the question, what base do you use? And in this video, there is one answer, Colossus. That's the only base I will run in this deck. Why? The 5 extra HPs is one of the secret powers we have into the meta. Palpatine essentially nullifies its downside with his leader ability. Most games I'm drawing so many cards, I only feel the effect of Colossus on turn 1, and even by turn 2 in a lot of games, I have mitigated the downside already. And for my older crowd, we're essentially Muhammad Ali, or for my younger crowd, we're invincible after he fights a Viltrumite. We take a beating in the first half of games. Typically, you'll see anywhere between like 15 and 20 damage on your base until you turbo ramp, super laser blast, and flip Palpatine. So with Colossus, that 15 to 20 damage on your base really only feels like 10 to 15 damage. And that, I'm telling you, is massive. So we take this damage and then we flip our switch. We take over the game. We have our burst of healing to put us out of range of all the burn damage. And then we just play our big stuff. We do our Palpatine flip and we just ice the game. Everybody knows, if you've watched my videos, how I like to build decks. You build decks by having win conditions and support packages. The win conditions in this deck, it's a soft control, but I think more accurately called a ramp deck. Our win conditions are super laser blasting a wide board and following that up with a big triangle or a palp flip. Sometimes we don't even need super laser blasts. If we can control the board early enough, you can do things like bring in Maul, bring in Vader, and take it over that way. There are games that I win where I don't play super laser blast at all, even though I've kept it in my opening hand. Other win conditions. Scanning officers. Against Quinlan and Han 1, scanning officers on turn 1 and turn 2 legitimately can win you the game. And that's what's so funny about this style of like soft control deck. Or everybody thinks like control and ramp decks take 40 minutes. You're getting to the end game. You're churning, you're grinding your match out. But with scanning officers, and I'll show you a game in my spot. I think it's my favorite spotlight game I have for you. I'm not going to spoil it, but I play scanning officer into a Han 1 and I legitimately win the game on the spot. And then you still have mill. So against hard control and blue hero, you can do the mill game plan. I hate that game plan. It always feels terrible, but we do have it in our back pocket. Let's talk about the packages that I like to include. Now, some of these you may disagree aren't really packages, but bear with me. Package 1, and the most obvious, is the ramp package. This is Super Laser Technician, Resupply, and Resupply Carrier. And what makes this so good is that essentially in the past, our third card would be Top Target, but Top Target was you had to play the card and then be able to reliably remove it, where with these three cards, we can either easily remove our own Super Laser Technician, or you just simply play Resupply Carrier or Resupply. And why Resupply Carrier is a big card in this deck is because if on turn 2 we ramp, we jump right to the 5 resource turn. We play something, typically you can do something like defeat your own unit with Palp's ability and play like takedown or direct hit. And then on the next turn, you Resupply Carrier and you jump straight from 6 resources to 8 resources. And then it's over. We have Super Laser Blast, Palp Flip. We can even do things like Vader and Maul into Palp's ability to damage something, flip Palp and take it. We'll get into more of that later, but Resupply Carrier is a GOAT. Don't sleep on it. All 3 of these cards are 3-ofs in this deck in 99% of matchups. We'll get into that in the sideboard discussion. Our second package is what I call the Big Angry Triangle package. And this is my favorite package just because I love big angry triangles. It is what I love about Star Wars, and it's what I love about this game. That's Relentless, Avenger, Devastator. Relentless shuts off all of these big swingy events. Avenger just keeps popping units and dealing damage at the same time. It's like an action cheat for us because we want to remove and we want to deal damage. And Devastator, the Sentinel and Overwhelm is just so good. A lot of times you can play Devastator, pop something on the ground, and now you have a Sentinel in space. So you essentially took care of both lanes with one card. And if they remove it, that's fine. We have a lot of other big angry ships that we can still use. And if they don't remove it and they waylay it, well, you get it again. And typically you're playing this and popping something. You're popping the biggest threat. So if the biggest threat is in space, you still pop the biggest threat in space. If they waylay it, you just get it again. Devastator is amazing in this deck. You might be asked, why not Annihilator? Why not Executor? Annihilator was initially in my main board. It eventually got moved to my sideboard and then eventually cut. Only because Annihilator is good into the matchups we're already good against. Devastator is better in a lot of matchups than Annihilator, because a lot of times we really need Devastator on 10 resources. And Devastator can hit things like Chewbacca and Lurking TIE Phantoms, where Annihilator can't. So Annihilator is a good card, and it's on the cusp. If you include it in your sideboard, I don't think you're wrong. But I do think Executor, you play Executor out and you still get Super Laser Blast or Fell the Dragon or Direct Hitted. It is really good into things like Power of the Dark Side, but we can already play around it. So these are the big angry triangles that I considered in my package. Now, typically I don't like to say removal is its own package, but in this deck, it's such a big identity that the removal package is important. Now, before I get into the removal package, I want to highlight something. In this game, there are 3 cards that occupy this 4 resource spot with a condition. That's Fell the Dragon, that's Takedown, and that's Direct Hit. And you might be asking, what of those are we using? And I like Direct Hit and Takedown right now in this meta. Takedown is super good into Han and Sabine and stuff, which we need our help in. And Direct Hit is better than Fell the Dragon in this meta because of War Juggernaut and Ruthless Raider. If for some reason we get Jango removed from the meta, then Direct Hit may be replaced with Fell the Dragon, but currently I think the best 2 removals in that spot is Direct Hit and Takedown. The rest of my removal package is Power of the Dark Side, No Glory Only Results, and Super Laser Blast. In the sideboard, I actually have 3 copies of Perilous Position. I sideboard this card in a lot of my matchups. I do think it's best in the sideboard just because when we bring it in, we want to surgically remove the pieces that are bad in the matchup and bring in Perilous, opposed to the other way around. That could be wrong. You could want Perilous in and then have one of copies of these other things in the sideboard. I just think I prefer it this way. The next package is the heal package. And most of this is in my sideboard. Vigilance, we run 3 of in the main deck, and we never take it out. Onyx Squadron Brute is a 1 of in the main board and 2 of in the sideboard, and Top Target is a 1 of in the sideboard. We bring that in against these turbo aggro matchups to try and push us out of range, give us enough breathing room that when we turn the corner, we can't get burned out. This last package I call the Meta Disruption package. And the Meta Disruption package is Maul, because if we outramp our opponent by 1, I say outramp because Pietts exist and they also like to ramp. If we outramp by 1, that would put us at 6 resources on our opponent's leader flip turn. Then on the next turn, we would be at 7 resources. And we play Maul, and he can just assassinate the big 3 leaders. That's Quinlan, Han, and Jango. He assassinates all of them and lives. And that is a super big deal. We'll get into it in play lines and other discussions. And I hope I have one of those recorded in the Spotlight games. But Maul being able to assassinate a Piett on his flip is game winning right there. So Mauls are definitely 3 ofs. And then secret sauce of the deck, and the card that is going to single-handedly annihilate Jango, is a card you forgot about. And that's Unexpected Escape. It's a 1 cost, 1 vigilance aspect trick. You exhaust a unit, you may rescue a captured card guarded by that unit. The capture thing, I have not once used that part of the ability. The 1 cost exhaust a unit is so good right now. And here's why. Against Jango, if they sneak attack or triple dark raid, if you have one of these in your hand, you can still play a removal most times. Especially if you ramped on turn 2, you can play like Direct Hit, have 1 open resource, and just pass. And you keep passing. If they play triple dark raid or sneak attack, you just unexpected escape it, and then they don't get their burst damage. They essentially paid their entire turn to draw a card. And if they're drawing a card, that deck is a tempo deck. They need to deal damage or get ahead on board. That just makes it so that they literally can't play their big swing cards. One of my favorite things, you'll see them sneak attack in a Devastator, hit you for 4, and they're like, okay, cool. Here we go. 13 damage from hand. What are you going to do about it? You play Unexpected Escape, tap it down. Now it can't hurt you. It did 4 damage to base. They spent 8 resources and 2 cards to deal 4 damage to base. And you countered that whole thing with 1 resource. On like 7 resources when that would happen, you play Unexpected Escape, you've probably outramped them, and you can then play Maul, play Vader, do a bunch of other stuff, flip Palpatine. It's cracked. Unexpected Escape is a amazing card right now. Not only against Jango, against Han. One of the grossest things Han does on his flip turn, typically in a fair matchup, you're both on 5 resources. Han ramps to 6, flips, attacks, gets to 7, and then pops DJ out of his smuggle row, steals your resource, and then blows it up. He's now so far ahead of you because you have to basically replay your 5 resource turn, and he essentially ramped. With Unexpected Escape, you again can play a removal and then hold on to Unexpected Escape. If they play something like Bodhi to remove it, well, guess what? They don't have the resources to DJ you anymore, which is fine. You know what? Han, if that's what you want to do on your turn is play Bodhi and then like Ahsoka, discard 2 of my cards, I would much rather that than getting rid of my ramp because I'm going to super laser blast you, take care of your entire board, and then it's my game. Unexpected Escape is amazing. And the best part is any blue deck can run it. We'll get into that later, but this is my meta disruption package. That brings us to our core deck. And I like to present the deck of cards that I think are unmovable from the deck. And that's 3 Dr. Pershings, at least 2 scanning officers, 3 super laser technicians, 3 resupply carriers, 2 Darth Vaders, 3 Mauls, 3 Avengers. I would like you to have 3 Relentless / Devastators. So I personally like 1 Relentless, 2 Devastators. I think this can change depending on your playstyle. 3 Unexpected Escapes, 2 to 3 Power of the Dark Sides, 3 resupplies, and then 7 to 8 single target removal spells. I feel like single target removal is really a personal choice. And, you know, we can go back and forth all day on what single target removal you like and I like. 7 to 8 single target removal. Again, I like direct hit, and I'll show you what I'm running in my core deck. We run 3 Vigilance, and I would say at least 2 Super Laser Blast. I run 3. There are so many games where you're like, man, I really hope I have Super Laser Blast right now. So Super Laser Blast is a 2 to 3 of. And that puts us at around 41 to 47 cards. So if you don't like a lot of what I have to say, you have 9 other cards to play with. If you do like a lot about what I have to say, you have around 3 to 4 cards left to play with. Other cards to consider out of those 9 cards you have left, here are some cards that you might want to run. Director Krennic. He's basically our version of a crafty smuggler, but he also has an amazing upside with the first when defeated card you play costs 1 less. And we'll talk about that here in a second. Onyx Squadron Brutes. Those are just a good turn 1 play that can also heal. Inferno 4s. I actually completely cut these for Onyx Squadron Brute. Hike Sentinel. It's a turn 1 play with a Sentinel. Can be found with Vader. Really nice. Choose Sides. I was running this for a little bit because in your late game matchups, into your Luke Greens, into your Pietts, Choose Sides lets you trade something like a Pike Sentinel for one of their big ships. I just feel like it's a little too much, personally. Palpatine's Return. One thing about Palpatine's Return is we play a lot of big stuff. Later on in the game, it allows you to select the perfect card from your discard pile for the situation. A lot of times you're sitting there like, man, I really hope I draw a Devastator right now. Well, if you've already played it or it's been discarded, you can just bring it back. So that's why I like Palpatine's Return. Perilous Position is super nuts right now. I keep it in my sideboard. Again, I like to have a lot of copies of other cards, and then I surgically remove them to place Perilous Position in. Dogfight, this deck plays kind of one off curve a lot. So you can play something like Maul, ambush into your opponent's leader like Jango, and then if they play War Juggernaut on that same turn, you could just dogfight the War Juggernaut and destroy both of them on one turn. The reason why I don't really run Dogfight is a lot of times if you have 8 resources to do something like a Maul into like a 1 cost, do something else. To me, I personally like Maul into Jango, defeat Maul, hit the War Juggernaut, and then flip Palpatine to steal the War Juggernaut. But Dogfight is a card that you could run. Client, it's a nice shielded unit for turn 2 that can give bounties and continuously heal you. I personally think that he's a little slow, so I don't typically run him. I like Top Target a lot more, especially because like the turn right before you Super Laser Blast, you can play Top Target on something and then wipe the board clean. And not only did you wipe the board, you also got a heal. Annihilator, we talked about it. It is a big ship. I wouldn't fault you if you want to run one, especially because it's a new card, and new cards are always fun. And then another card that I want you to consider that you probably didn't initially think of is Force Choke. Why Force Choke? It's out of aspect. Compare it to Takedown. Force Choke deals 5 damage to a unit. In this deck, costs 4 unless we have a Force unit out. Then it would cost 3, but typically it costs 4. And that is exactly the same as Top Target, except Top Target defeats where Force Choke damages. And damage can actually be better against Chewbacca if it's played as a unit. Force Choke is better. We can Force Choke leaders to deal 5 damage to them, and then use Palpatine's ability to pop them and deal the extra damage to hit 6, which is a good break point because it can defeat Hans. And if you really need to get through like a Tech or DJ, you could think of it as your 4th takedown. And a 4th takedown into a Han 1 deck is good. It also is a different card than Takedown, which, I mean, no brainer. But a lot of times decks will play Regional Governor or decks will play Kira and name Takedown. But if you have Force Choke, that's just, you know, Takedown but a different name, you can still play it and do what you want to do. So don't sleep on Force Choke. The real important thing I want to talk about is our turn 1 plays. This is extremely important because we actually, unlike most, control decks, we play a significant amount of turn 1 plays because we need to use Palpatine's ability to pop them, to get cards, to deal damage to units, to be able to steal stuff. I do think it's important that we talk specifically about our turn 1 plays. And another reason why we run a lot of turn 1 plays is we are running 2 Darth Vaders in the deck. So the more hits he has, the better. A lot of times we can ambush Vader into something, Palp's ability, whatever he pulls out, to then ping and help steal an opponent's unit, or, you can actually defeat something that has 6 HP with Vader. So that's kind of good. The turn 1 play that doesn't leave the deck is Pershing. He is one of the key pieces to the deck, right? Even against most aggro decks, he has this pseudo sentinel and is defeated. Either he soaks the 5 damage, we're happy, or he draws us at least 1 card and we're also happy. Pike Sentinel, it's a turn 1 play with Sentinel. It can be pulled out with Vader, stop things like War Juggernaut or other ground forces. Scanning Officer, really, I can't stress enough how good this is into Han 1 and Quinlan's. It also has a lot of game into other red hero decks. It hits things like Cassian and Sabine. And if you hit Cassian in a Sabine deck, and you've also used one of their resources, it's surprisingly good. It's also good into Cad Bane, as they do typically run Bazines and other smuggle cards, and it can hit those. Onyx Squadron Brutes, these are also really good into a lot of decks because the healing is nice. Most times you lose, it's because your opponent just gets you there. This 2 HP does matter a lot in this deck. And then one of the surprises, and we're going to get to it in the playline section here in a little bit, is Krennic. He's good into Jango because he has a shield. And a lot of times, he allows us to trade into 3 health units because you can attack with him and then Palp's ability him to deal the 3rd damage. And this is what we'll talk about in playlines. He combos with a couple cards in this deck. On turn 2, You can even play Krennic and Onyx Squadron Brute, since Onyx Squadron Brute would get the 1 cost reduction. Krennic also plays really nice with Super Laser Tech. If you play Krennic turn 1, Super Laser Tech turn 2, well, you actually only play Super Laser Tech for 2 resources, which means you can pop it with Palp's ability on the same turn. The cards that I included, and I'm going to put my deck on screen now. I included 2 Director Krennics, 2 Pike Sentinels. I made sure that I have 3 Scanning Officers, 1 Onyx Squadron Brute. I went the 1 Relentless, 2 Devastator route. I do like Power of the Dark Side in the main deck, and I make sure that I go to 3 Super Laser Blasts. I think it's that important. If you wanted to run like a Perilous Position over a Power of the Dark Side, I wouldn't blame you. But again, I keep all 3 of those in my sideboard. So I've been alluding to it, but let's talk about some play lines. What I want to get across to you though, and I want to say this up front, this deck is complicated. It's not really like a simple deck to pick up, but it's not intimidating. It's not Han 1 levels of complicated. But there are just a lot of play lines that you're going to need to figure out yourselves. I'm going to try and highlight some in the spotlight games and talk about some now, but you will get a feel for them eventually, I promise. Just know that starting out with this deck, you might make some misplays and you're going to be like, oh man, I could have done that better. So I actually highly recommend, if you can, use OBS or like screen capture to record your games and go back through them and see if you made a misplay. Like, oh, if I pinged here or if I didn't resource that, I could have had extra resources to do this and that. So let's talk about some of the play lines. If you ramp on turn 2 or played Super Laser Tech and have a way to defeat it for free, something like Pershing or running it into an opponent, you get 5 resources ready on turn 3. This allows you to do something like takedown / direct hit something and still let you unexpected escape anything that they triple dark raid on the same turn. You get to prevent 3 damage from whatever they had on board, most likely, and get to stop whatever kind of spike that they want to hit you with. If it's a 6 attack War Juggernaut, a 4 attack Ruthless Raider, it shuts that down. Sometimes it's better to let your base take damage and ramp on 6 resources. A lot of times, if you have Super Laser Blast in hand and ramp using something like Resupply Carrier, you just Super Laser Blast the turn after, and typically you'll have something like 15 to 20 damage on your base, but now the board's clear. You can even flip Palpatine and not even steal anything if they played something small that you just want to remove. Krennic has 2 unique interactions in this deck. We've already kind of talked about them, but if you play him on turn 1, on turn 2, you can play Super Laser Tech and use Palp's ability on that same turn. You could also play Onyx Squadron Brute and another 2-cost card. If you have both Krennic and Onyx Squadron Brute in hand, you could just play both from hand. A lot of times people will defeat Pershing by running into him. Sometimes it's better for you to just ping him yourself with Palpatine's ability. If you suspect that Pershing is going to be defeated before you can exhaust him to deal 1 damage to him, if they've set up a Tarkin Town, if they have something that's 5 attack on the ground, just ping him with your leader. You remove him, yes, you don't get to soak any damage, but you still get the card draw, which is what we're playing him for anyway. And he kind of deals 1 damage. Even if they try to set up a Tarkin Town, he at least soaked 2 damage or a ping effect. And then we get to pop him, deal 1 damage to the opponent, and then draw a card. Again, hopefully in the spotlight games, I'll shine more on play lines, but these are just a couple things I wanted to highlight here. The next thing I want to talk about is Palpatine's flip turn, or like the 8 resource turn. So sometimes on 7 resources, we can ramp and then kind of surprise flip Palpatine on the same turn. A lot of times opponents look at the board state on that turn and they go, okay, he has 7 resources. You know, they play to the board, you play to the board, and then you ramp and flip on that turn. And a lot of times people are like, wait, what's going on right now? I didn't expect that at all. And if you're on 7 resources, I think Resupply Carrier is the best card to play here a lot of times, because you can play Resupply Carrier. If they play a big threat, you just then pop your own Resupply Carrier and take their threat from them. And it's just kind of unexpected. Good players are going to realize that this is now something that can happen. But even good players, a lot of times, especially if it's later on in the day, if it's game 3, they don't always recognize that you've ramped to the point where that you can flip your leader, and it just happens. You also don't always need to flip on 8 resources. Sometimes holding it forces your opponent to not play their best cards. if they see how the board is, they might not want to play their Devastators, their War Juggernauts, their Avengers, because you'll just steal them. On 8 resources, don't be afraid to play something like Maul to defeat a leader unit like Piett and Jango, and then defeating your own Maul to ping a unit and then steal it. This is a big play because not only did you remove their leader, but you've also stolen one of their big threats and flipped your leader. So things like these are really, really good. And not all of this has to happen on 8 resources. Maybe I'm wrong here, but I do hold Palpatine maybe for a little too long. But sometimes it is good to even flip him into an open board. So next I want to talk about the sideboard, and I'm going to pop up my deck list again, but this time include the sideboard. I currently run 1 top target, 2 Force Choke, 2 Onyx Squadron Brute, 3 Perilous Position, 1 Palpatine's Return, and 1 Relentless. You might be asking, why 2 Force Choke when you could do a takedown in a Force Choke? And the reason why is what I mentioned earlier. A lot of times, if you're playing against Hans or Quinlans, they have Kira. They can try and insulate themselves from takedown by playing Kira, naming takedown, and then they're free to flip their DJ out without having to worry about takedown. If you run Force Choke, it's a different card than takedown, and they can't name both. And it allows you to basically have a takedown that's not named takedown. And we get 4 of these deal with a 5 health unit cards, but we split them up in a way that it tries to insulate ourselves from Kira. 2 questions if you've played Green Villain, you might be wondering. The first one is, why no Overwhelming Barrage? It's one of the best cards in the game. You're crazy for not running it. The reason why is we play like low attack units. So Overwhelming Barrage only does 4 damage, less than takedown and Force Choke for 1 more resource cost, plus we need a unit as a condition. Or we play our really, really big stuff after a Super Laser Blast, and we don't need all that damage. Since we can Avenger, Devastator, or steal stuff with Palpatine, once we Super Laser Blast the first time, the board is typically under control in most matchups. We want our board wipe to be as unconditional as possible. We just play Super Laser Blast, and it just destroys everything. Yes, Overwhelming Barrage is really good into Chewbacca, but it's only really good into Chewbacca. We have so many other things in this deck. I think the deck's already a little too tight. But if you want to find a way to put Overwhelming Barrage in, please be my guest. I'm welcome to any suggestions you have. If you guys end up taking this Palpatine deck and making it your own, and you find places where Overwhelming Barrage fits in, send it my way. Drop a link in the chat. Let me know. Message me on Discord. I'll be happy to take a look at your deck and try a few runs with it and see if Overwhelming Barrage really is good. Personally, I think it's too conditional in this deck that I don't like it. The other question you might be asking is, why 3 Mauls and 2 Vaders, not 3 Vaders, 2 Mauls? And I think Maul is really good into Jango, Quinlan, Hans, and Pietts. Because if we've outramped them on the next turn, you play Maul and just in one action defeat the leader. Vaders are still good, that's why I run 2 of them. But in this meta, Mauls being able to just wipe out leaders from hand is beyond important, especially against Jango, because if you play Vader on the next turn, if they tap it, you would have to defeat your own Vader to ping it, and you'd have to do it twice. So, and I think being able to deal 7 damage from hand with Maul is just too important to pass up. Maul can also run into War Juggernaut. So a lot of times, if you've already flipped Palpatine, if you've already used a bunch of your removal and your opponent plays a War Juggernaut, you play Maul, and it can just nicely trade into War Juggernaut, sometimes even live if you don't have a wide enough board and there's not enough ping damage. I still think Vader is good. I just think Maul, currently, as we stand right now, the 7 damage from hand from Maul is just too good to pass up. This section is going to be the specific matchup and game plan section. I will break this up in chapters so you can directly go to matchups that you want to look at, but I'd prefer if you look at all of them. Our Jango matchup. So Jango's strength is the ability to exhaust early game ground units, get ahead on tempo, and control the board with his exhaust and leader ability, and then finish the game out with a crazy burst damage using triple dark raid and sneak attack. That means that our game plan going into Jango is we got a mulligan for our ramp early and good turn 1 plays like Krennic or Pershing. It will allow us to trade into some of their early game units. Jango actually runs a lot of turn 1 ground units. So we can trade into them, draw cards early, and look for our key pieces that we need, like unexpected escape, takedowns, direct hits. If you get an unexpected escape, I'm telling you, never, ever, ever resource them in this matchup. They are used specifically for triple dark raid and sneak attack. Or if at worst, you don't have the proper removal for a unit, you can exhaust it and then steal it with Palpatine safely. I want to stress though, unexpected escapes are specifically for their sneak attacks and triple dark raids. If you hit one of those cards that they triple dark raid or sneak attacked in, I don't have the played win rate for it, but I don't think I have lost a game that I've done that. I don't know, maybe I'll put one in the spotlight games that I've lost if I've done it. But you'll see in spotlight games, it's insane. We're also trying to ramp at least once, but ideally twice by turn 4. That way, the turn after Jango flips, we either maul him and then defeat Maul with Palpatine's ability to steal a big unit like Ruthless Raider or War Juggernaut, or we just super laser blast the board and now we're in control of the game. Now, here's another thing. If you suspect that Jangos are running Planetary Bombardment, and I have actually lost a game, the only reason I lost was because I super laser blast. Now it's an open board and they hit me for 8 indirect damage and just was able to push enough damage with that. So if you suspect Jangos are running Planetary Bombardment, which I think is rare, but I guess it is happening, just flip Palpatine out onto the open board after you super laser blast. That way, if they play Planetary Bombardment, Palp just soaks all that damage and still lives. It caught me by surprise in the first game. In the second game that I played against this Jango player, I did exactly that. When they Planetary Bombardment, I just soaked it up with Palpatine. Now, I have a 4-2 unit on board. They have nothing. And then I've got all the removal, all the big ships. They couldn't do anything. The sideboard into Jango. Our deck, again, is already kind of tailored to the Jango matchup, but we can make a couple adjustments. So I recommend you take out 2 Power of the Dark Sides, 1 Avenger, take out the Scanning Officers, and 1 No Glory Only Results. I would add in 1 Top Target, 2 Onyx Squadron Brutes, 3 Perilous Positions, and then a Relentless. If you only want to take out 1 power or no powers, I would, for any powers that you don't take out, don't put in 1 Perilous Position is my recommendation if you still want to use the powers. A lot of times, Power of the Dark Side and Scanning Officers just aren't that amazing here. Power of the Dark Side is just not that good because they play a lot of turn 1 units that are rather weak, like ISB Agent and Greedo. If we Power of the Dark Side, they're just going to choose the ISB Agent and not the unit we actually want them to choose. They're not really running that many, if any, Smuggle cards. So we pull out our Scanning Officers and put in 2 Onyx Squadron Brutes and a top target because we value the healing more than we value the hitting the resources. Avengers are good, but at times we want Relentless late game into the empty boards. It prevents almost all of Jango's burst damage later on, their triple dark raid and their sneak attacks. We're kind of replacing 1 Avenger for 1 Relentless, but we still have 2 Avengers and 2 Relentless. So we're still going to see them. It's just as being able to see Relentless and shutting off their big power spikes at the end of the game is really good. No Glory Only Results is good in this deck, specifically to target Ruthless Raider, so we keep 2 in the deck. Perilous can somewhat handle this at a cheaper cost if they're sneak attacked or triple dark rated in, because you still get the exhaust for 3, but we're already trying to exhaust them for 1. But it gives us more exhaust into the triple dark raid and sneak attack options. Onyx Squadron Brutes are coming in for the Scanning Officers. You get the same stats for the same cost, but the when defeated of healing 2 can put us out of range a lot of times. And that's what we really value in this matchup, is trying to just heal to make sure they can't burst us down. Top Target, it's a 1 resource card, allows for extra healing before a Super Laser Blast or removal, and that puts us out of range. So that's the Jango matchup. And next is this Boba Yellow Burn matchup. Typically, their game plan is similar to Jango's, but they're just dumping mass amounts of damage at you and not like mid-game control board exhausting stuff. Don't get too greedy in this matchup. You may have to deploy Palpatine into an open board and soak up a lot of damage. It essentially is like you have 45 HP on your base in this matchup with Palpatine. You're not trying to like steal anything. Super Laser Blast is still good, but it's also kind of weird. If they have open resources and you Super Laser Blast, they can just like Planetary Bombardment you for 8. Kind of want to wait until they're tapped, Super Laser Blast, and then flip Palpatine out to soak up all of that indirect damage. And you're going to have to manage health on board here. So things like Scanning Officers and Pershings are just extra base HP in this matchup. Once we drop a big ship, we feel good. As soon as we can soak all their indirect damage up with a big ship, that's where we're trying to get to. And you do try to defeat their space units. If they play Boba as a ground unit, we snipe them with a maul and call it a day. Now, the sideboard is actually kind of hard because we don't want to take out the scanning officers, which aren't that great into this matchup, because they offer some indirect damage to soak up. And you're thinking of units in this matchup as extra base health, not like attack stats. So we take out one super laser blast just because it can backfire. We take out an Avenger and replace it with a Relentless. And then I actually remove 2 Power of the Dark Sides and add in 2 Onyx Squadron Brutes. The reason why we do this is a lot of their units have win defeated effects, and sometimes we kind of can't play around it if we Power of the Dark Side. We're going to have to hit 5 damage to base with Power of the Dark Side, which doesn't feel great. So what we want to do is we actually want to add in top targets and Onyx Squadron Brutes to prevent as much of this burn damage as we possibly can. It allows us to play our big units. Top target is kind of like 4 to 6 HP gain. And Onyx Squadron Brutes are kind of like a plus 5 HP because you just soak the 3 indirect damage onto the Onyx Squadron Brute and then it heals 2. So it's kind of like one mode of Vigilance for 2, if you think about it. So that's the Boba Burn matchup. The Han matchup. The game plan, we absolutely cannot get DJ'd in this matchup. That basically is Han's biggest win condition against us. The only card we care about turn 1 and turn 2 is Scanning Officer. We hard mulligan for it. If we hit a Scanning Officer in this matchup, it is ours. They cannot get ahead on board. They're so far behind. And we can defeat the tech DJs and hotshot blasters with Scanning Officers. So on the 5 resource turn, it feels weird, but we basically just hold takedown or unexpected escape and let them hit us. You let them hit you and you just pass. If they hit us for 9 or 10, it's okay. We have a lot of HP. We're running Colossus. We have healing. You let Han flip and then you unexpected escape him if you have it. This prevents him from getting to 7, which is the magic number for DJ. Or if you can't prevent the 7, hope you have takedown in hand to defeat the DJ as he comes out to get your resources back. And if you hold both takedown and unexpected escape, you have some way of preventing the DJ. And if you've ramped, you can play takedown to prevent some of the damage they're going to hit you with, and then hold onto unexpected escape. If they play Bodhi to prevent it, well, good. They didn't DJ you. If we stop DJ, the game is ours. If we get DJ'd, it's almost a lost cause. The sideboard into Han. Our deck really relies on Scanning Officers early to help hit the smuggle cards and set Han back. So I remove 1 Devastator, 2 direct hits, 2 no glory only results, and 1 Avenger. And I put in the 3 perilous positions, 1 relentless, and the 2 force chokes. So we cut 1 Devastator. It's a really good finisher, but the Sentinel in space typically doesn't do much here since Han's top end space is typically like the Lando's Pride Millennium Falcon, which can be hit with takedown. But we do keep 1 Devastator in the deck. No glory is kind of just a vanquish, which isn't bad. So we'll keep 1 of them, but we're going to use more relevant, cheaper removal options, such as the force chokes and perilous positions. We take out 1 Avenger and replace it with a Relentless. The reason why is a lot of Han's blowout is from Cunning or surprise strikes or waylays. Relentless helps prevent that later on. Han's typically hurt for cards. They might not have 2 events in hand to be able to waylay Cunning or something like that. We add in the perilous positions again to exhaust Han and prevent their big 2-turn ramp flip turn. It also allows us to take out crafty smugglers and L3s, and it puts 5 health units into Vigilance territory. And a lot of Han's units are 5 health. It also severely weakens Enfys Nest because now they can actually still bring back to hand all of our turn 1 plays, but she only does 2 damage and exhausts. We're adding in the 2 force chokes. These are just essentially extra copies of takedown, and we need them to prevent getting DJ'd at all costs. It's 4 copies of takedown to help our odds. The reason why we're running 2 force chokes, 2 takedowns is to try and play around Kira. If they name takedown and we draw the force choke, or if they name force choke and we draw the takedown, we're kind of happy because we have another way to get around it. So that's why, again, we've split them into 2-2 instead of 3-1. The Quinlan Voss matchup. So Quinlan's game plan is to ping Tarkentown units early to get ahead on the board and then take the game over on his flip turn. His flip turn is super crucial to his game plan. It's the biggest moment in the game, and we have to manage it. Our plan against him is to play units early. If he pings them and is preparing to Tarkentown, we defeat him ourselves with Palpatine to draw a card. We want scanning officers and Pershings early on. Pershing can't be ping Tarkentown, and scanning officer has a few targets it can hit, like DL-44 Blaster, L-337, and Cassian. The most important thing in this matchup is to have multiple answers for Kira. That's either Vader, Super Laser Blast, Takedowns, Power of the Dark Side, Force Chokes, and drawing cards to prevent the massive discard that he brings to the table from Force Throws and Ahsoka's. Make sure you keep some low-cost cards in hand. That way, if they have a Force unit and Force Throw you, you have a small card to throw away. And that almost forces them to Force Throw themselves. And that's fine. If they're going to use 2 cards to take out one of your big cards, that's fine. We have plenty of other big cards to play. A lot of times, I win games by turbo ramping this matchup. If you ramp twice in this matchup and have Super Laser Blast, the game is most likely over. Remember, if you need to, you can steal your opponent's Kira and then pop it with Palpatine's on attack ability to remove whatever card she's like blocking you, and then play the card. So the sideboard. We actually do eat Quinlans alive here. We draw a lot of cards, which prevents their big hand disruption stuff. And then they're going to do their big flip turn, but then we just Super Laser Blast it, and they've lost all of their tempo. We typically have enough cards that we can keep the low-cost cards in hand to discard for Force Throws. Every big, cool thing that Quinlan does is kind of mitigated. But the sideboard, we still change some stuff up. We get rid of the no glory only results. It's a Vanquish in this matchup. I don't really want to run Vanquish against Quinlan. We remove the 2 direct hits. They run, I think, 6 space units. It's too situational here. And we cut 1 Devastator. We have enough top end, and typically in this game, it's won by a Super Laser Blast or Maul, followed up by an Avenger or Palp Flip. I've won all 4 of my games without ever playing Devastator in this matchup, I think. And we're replacing these cards with top target. It's a heal, but also Force Throw bait. If they Force Throw you, just toss out top target. It only does 1 damage. They've basically only made you discard a card, and they're going to have to Force Throw you again or trade. It doesn't take out any of your units. Palpatine's Return allows us to Force Throw a Vader or Maul early on in the game, then cheat it in for 1 less resource, or even bring in a big ship late game. Onyx Squadron Brutes, they give us early game healing. It allows us to Palp them to draw cards and prevent the discard from Quinlan. And if we have to Force Throw it, it's only 2 damage. The healing is really good because, again, it's going to put us out of range because we're going to have to take a beating from Quinlan on his flip turn. And then Force Choke, a lot of Quinlan's units are 5 health, non-vehicles. So we get nice cheap removal for most of their stuff. We split it into 2 Force Choke, 2 Takedown because we're trying to prevent the Kira stuff. The Piett match. So Piett's game plan is basically ramp, remove your opponent's stuff, and then play big threats and force your opponent to deal with them. Hey, that sounds familiar. That's our game plan. Our game plan is just better. One thing I want to highlight against this matchup is that Super Laser Tech is really bad for Piett, but it's still good for us. Why? Well, no glory only results exists. So you can steal their Super Laser Tech and then defeat it with no glory, and you get the ramp, not your opponent. A lot of times, if we play Super Laser Tech on turn 2 and then pop it with Palpatine on turn 3, they don't have the resources unless they've ramped to steal it. So you have to manage that, but it's really easy to see coming and telegraphed. We also do not play turn 1 ground units unless it's Krennic and you have Super Laser Tech in hand, or it's Pershing. Otherwise, you want to keep the ground arena clear so they can't trade their Super Laser Techs into anything. Preventing like half of their early game ramp is a big deal in this matchup. If they play Pershing, you better hope that we have a Power of the Dark Side or something. Just understand that on Piett's flip turn, he usually can't do anything scary. Really, only Fleet Interdictor, which doesn't scare us at all. So if you ramped 1 more time than Piett, and you have Maul in hand, you just claim, snipe Piett, and now it's their 6 resource turn, and it's bricked. They can't cheat anything in. The best thing that they can bring in is Resupply Carrier, which is a ramp, yeah, but it's not that scary now because they're ramping and you're ramping. And we're about to be at the 8 resource turn anyway. So you can super laser blast or defeat their board, and then it's back to the, what capital ships are we playing, milling out, removing things. Our flip is just so much better than Pietts. Even if they relentless, we can play one of our tiny units, defeat it to damage the big ship we want to take, and now we flip Palpatine, and we've essentially got like a +2 in the threat department. We've removed their ship for free, and we've played a ship for free. And we're going to keep Vigilance for the mill strategy as our backup. You want to keep Vigilance in case your opponent is for some reason running restock. Typically, I haven't seen restock mainboarded in a lot of decks right now. If this deck becomes popular for some reason and people start running restock main deck, which I think is a mistake, you let them play restock, they put all their cards in their deck, and then you Vigilance their last 4 cards or whatever, and you don't have to worry about restock anymore. In the sideboard into Piett, we ramp harder than Piett does and have more endgame than they do. It also, not all of them run 3 Vigilance, which if they don't run 3 Vigilance, it's almost like 100% matchup. It's insane. We have a very, very good main deck matchup into Piett, unless they game plan for us in the sideboard. I don't think they're going to get the edge, but we can make our deck a little better. We remove Takedown since they don't hit much. They hit Pershing and they hit the Piett unit, but I think we take them out. And we put in the Relentless and Palpatine's Return. Relentless can brick the removal, and Palpatine's Return can bring back the best ship for the situation later on, even if it's milled by Vigilance. I've lumped all blue-green heroes together because they all play roughly the same. Typically, their game plan is to control the board early, and then win the game with U-Wing, Home 1, Luke's, and Chewbacca's. Don't get too greedy in this matchup. I have tried to hold Palpatine to steal Luke's, took too much damage, and lost because of it. Always have a plan for Chewbacca. That's their best win condition against us. Try not to let their ships stay in play unless you have no glory-only results. We can also steal Chewbacca's with Palp's flip. And in one game, I even super laser blasted and then stole their Chewbacca so it lived and I have it. And now it's a pain for them to deal with unless they Luke it. And if they Luke it, that's fine. The game's now in our hands. We've made them remove the Chewbacca for us. In the sideboard here, I would remove 1 Onyx Squadron Brute, 2 Pike Sentinels, 3 Unexpected Escapes, and 1 Scanning Officer. I'd put in a Relentless, a Palp's Return, both Force Chokes, and 3 Perilous Positions. We're definitely favored in this matchup since we have Relentless and our end game is just way better than Blue-Green Hero. Data Vaults also are going to be harder to mill since they have 10 cards, but they're also not as consistent. And we don't always have to win through the mill strategy because we have so much threat on board. So the Onyx Squadron Brute and the Pike Sentinels don't do much here in this matchup. I'd rather have other cards for in-game scenarios and late game. And I would replace the Unexpected Escapes with Perilous Positions. It's like the only matchup where we don't like Unexpected Escapes, and we want the Perilous Positions to remove the small ships and weaken Chewbacca's. Palpatine's Return and Relentless also allow us to extend our late game, and just to make sure we beat down the enemy, we can bring back Vaders, Mauls, Relentlesses with Palpatine's Return. And we actually bring in the Force Chokes here for a very specific reason. It deals 5 damage for 4 resources. So on 5 resources, if we have a unit in play, we can pop it with Palpatine's ability to deal 1 extra damage. And that 6 damage can defeat a ground unit Chewbacca. And this does happen. A lot of times, if he's U-Winged, if he's Home 1'd, he has to be played as a unit, and now we have to deal 6 damage to him. And this is a good way that we can deal 6 damage to him. The Sabine ECL matchup. This is, again, our worst matchup. Sabine's game plan is going to be to hit your base early, deal mass amounts of early damage, and then even if you turn a corner on them, they have some burn damage in their back pocket, like an ECL Wrecker or For a Cause I Believe in. The matchup's not unwinnable. We basically have to mulligan for units early and try to remove as much as we can as quick as we can. It's still okay to take some damage, but we're going to have to mitigate it as much as possible. Krennic into Super Laser Tech turn 1 is really good a lot of times. It allows us to effectively deal 3 damage on turn 2 to defeat something and also ramp. Resupply isn't that amazing in this match early on. On 6 resources, you can play it and then like hopefully Power of the Dark Side something to mitigate some damage and set up for a Super Laser Blast. Things to keep in mind is we don't want to play into the ECL Wrecker. if we don't have to. And we can even like steal their wreckers and pose. We have to keep up the healing and removal until we get the board under control, and then we essentially try to stay out of burn damage range and push damage ourselves. Avengers are our best closer since it allows us to do the pushing damage and defeating a unit at the same time. And sometimes Relentless later on in the game is good. That way they can't from the back line for a cause you. And it prevents that 4 burn damage that you kind of can't react to. The sideboard, we take out the resupply carriers and 2 resupplies. We take out a Devastator and the 2 direct hits. We add in the 2 force chokes, the 3 perilous positions, the top target, and the Onyx Squadron Brute. Turbo ramp really doesn't feel good to me into Sabine. They just deal too much damage too early. So we're taking out the turbo ramp. And because we're taking out the turbo ramp, I don't expect us to get the 10 resources early on in this match. Only having 1 Devastator in the deck is probably good enough. If we ever do hit there, maybe we draw it, maybe we don't. Direct hit isn't that great either. A lot of Sabine's game is like a ground game, and the thing that we'd want to direct hit is a Chewbacca'd vehicle. Well, direct hit doesn't work against Chewbacca'd vehicles. And even if Luke is piloting an A-Wing, takedown still defeats it. So direct hits aren't that great here. We add in both fourth chokes to help remove units early on, perilous position to buy us time and defeat units, and top target and Onyx Squadron Brute are for healing. If Sabine is going to win, we want them to do 50 plus damage to us. We don't want them to do just 35. We need to take something from the largest card game in the world. That's right, you guessed it. It's poker. We can bluff in this deck. Remember, once you play Unexpected Escape once in a matchup, or if for some reason, Unexpected Escapes become mainstream, we can bluff it. Just by holding 1 open resource and passing may cause your opponent to not play a Triple Dark Raid, even if you don't have the thing to prevent it. And that's just awesome. Your opponent having to play around a card that we don't even have in hand is so good for us. And just by having it in your deck, your opponent has to consider it. And being able to bluff for 1 resource is very easy to do. A couple things that you're going to need to come to terms with, though. You have to use your life as a resource. It might feel weird, but it's very, very, very important that you let your opponents hit you with small units, even if they pump it with a surprise strike. That's less surprise pump damage they have at endgame. You will have 15 to 10 HP left on your base when you take the game over. This is why Colossus is so important, because that 5 extra HP puts us out of range of a lot of closers, things like Devastators, for a cause I believe in. And a lot of times we just pass until a Triple Dark Raid or Sneak Attack comes out, and then we just exhaust it. You have to think about it like this. You take the 3 damage from IG 2000 to save the 7 damage from a big beefed up War Juggernaut. And if they claim and don't play anything, good. We have the better late game than Jango does. And nothing in your deck is unpalpatinable. I have palp leader ability almost every unit in this deck, except I think Relentless. I think Relentless is the only thing I haven't palpabilitied. If you're so far ahead and your opponent plays a big ground unit, sometimes just defeating an Avenger to steal it with a leader flip is better, especially if you have another Avenger in hand. Some issues with the deck. Sabine is our worst matchup, but it's not unwinnable. And right now, Sabines aren't as popular as Quinlan's, Han's, and Jango's. And sometimes Han 1s aren't great. If you don't have Scanning Officer, or if you don't have many reps into Han 1, it takes a few games to learn how to play against them. And Boba Burn makes us play in a different way. Sometimes you're just going to have to flip Palpatine into an empty board to soak in direct damage. And sometimes use him as like an add-on to your base as like a 45 HP base instead of a 35 HP base. And this is kind of wishful thinking, but Palpatine Blue, this deck that I'm showing to you right now, becomes meta. There are things that Jango's can do to counter us. Namely, it's Bazine. And there are other things, but I'm not going to mention them here. I'm going to hope Jango players take longer to figure them out. And also, those other things just aren't that great into us. If Jango has to run Bazines in their deck, good. It weakens their deck. If they Bazine us on turn 3, instead of triple dark raiding us, good. It buys us time. And if they resource Bazine, well, it's a smuggle card. It makes our scanning officers better into them. My closing thoughts before I get to the spotlight games. Most of my losses were me getting greedy and misplaying, not the deck letting me down. I felt like in 95% of games I've played, I am in it to the very end, and a lot of my losses were crucial mistakes that I made. And it wasn't just me not drawing something, it wasn't me hoping, it was me misplaying that led to my demise. Just to throw this out there, if you made it this far, any blue deck can run this unexpected escape. Luke's, Yoda's, Pietts, you can all run similar things. But what makes Palpatine so good with it is we usually always have one open resource because we want to use Palpatine's leader ability. So if they decide to play something other than Triple Dark Raid, we still get the value out of the resource because we can still pop our own unit, draw a card, deal 1 damage. Unexpected Escape is a great card into the entire meta. You exhaust Sabine's, Han's, and the Triple Dark Raid sneak attacks. And I want to close out with this. Jango Tarkin Towns are the current apex predator of this meta. They've gotten away with running everything they want and not considering other people too much because they just do what naturally is good in the game. I get to play my good cards, I get to exhaust the board, I get to flip on 5 resources. They basically had the world as their oyster, they were living large, everything was too good for too long. My hope, even if this deck is not tier 1 meta, which I do actually think it is tier 1, my goal is that more people play this style of deck with unexpected escapes and direct hits, and maybe even this deck itself, and force Jangos to adapt to actually consider the meta around them more. And that way, they have to weaken their deck to make concessions for other decks. And that allows their total power level to come down, and other decks have better win rates against them. And with that, the deck theory is done. If you liked it, please consider subscribing. This takes a monumental amount of effort to put out. I try to make sure that I test my decks, I battle harden them, I give you good takes, and I give you some other things to consider so you're not just net decking what I'm presenting to you and moving on. I'm going to show you a few spotlight games. I'm playing them with my own cards. They're recorded games or games I've played in person and took notes on. So please sit back, enjoy. I'll be talking over them as post-game comments. So on to the spotlight games. Spotlight game 1 is into Jango Tarkin Town. Our opening hand is direct hit, merciless contest, maul, takedown, and resupply carrier. Now you'll notice that in the first couple matches here, this is an older version of the deck where I'm actually running things like merciless contest, the 3-cost 3/2 sentinel in space. You'll see that appear in one of the games. You know, this is one of the games that led me to make the deck that I did. So you may have asked, like, why are you not running merciless contest? I did run it, and it has eventually been cut from my deck. Back to the game. This opening hand is really not that great. We have merciless contest. We don't have a turn 1 play, but we would be able to take out both of Jango's first turn plays. But doing that leaves us open to a triple dark raid into like a war juggernaut or a triple dark raid into ruthless raider, and we'll essentially have wiped out maybe like a P38 and an ISB agent. So we're essentially actually removing the wrong units. In total, we would probably remove around 4 damage worth of units to take 6 damage on a ruthless raider. So I decide to mulligan this hand. After our mulligan, we get takedown, maul, Pike Sentinel, no glory only results, and we actually get our unexpected escape, which is really good. This is the best card into Jango. So I decide that we'll have a turn 1 play with Pike Sentinel, and we'll be able to pop it with Palpatine's leader ability to draw an extra card if we need to. And we're going to keep no glory only results and unexpected escape. Unexpected escape gives us an out into a triple dark raider sneak attack. No glory only results is a good removal spell. And takedown and maul are good. You could argue that takedown would have been better here than no glory, but this is what I decided to do. Now, our Jango opponent here has the initiative, and they play ISB agent. And they don't show us anything, which makes sense. And we play Pike's Sentinel. Now, we have a 2-3 Sentinel. We're actually kind of blocking their ground because most of Jango's turn 1 plays are ground units. The idea here, on the next turn, Jango, we hope, claims initiative. He has to do something into Pike's Sentinel. If he runs ISB Agent into Pike's Sentinel, then we'll just pop it with Palpatine, draw a card, and essentially trade into ISB Agent with our Pike Sentinel and get a card out of it, which would be really, really good. But unfortunately here, they actually play Daring Raid to hit Pike Sentinel for 2. And I thought, okay, well, now they're just going to run ISB Agent into it on the next turn. So I claim, because if they don't, well, maybe we'll do something here. But they actually choose to Tarkin Town it, which I think was a mistake here. I don't think I would have Tarkin Towned it. It's not that scary of a unit, but maybe they figure that there's not much that they'll be able to Tarkin Town in my deck. They Tarkin Town it. It does leave me with only 2 cards in hand. I don't get the card draw. I don't get the trade like I wanted. Our draw is Power of the Dark Side and Relentless. And I decide to resource Relentless. It's too early in the game, and we do need removal. We need to try and keep this board as clear as possible. And we're on 3 resources. There would be an argument here to hold Power of the Dark Side, especially if I had like 2 of them, since I could Power of the Dark Side and Unexpected Escape on the next turn. But I think that's a little wishful thinking here, because we have to get rid of this ISB Agent eventually, and he might have Surprise Strike in hand. So we pay 3, we Power of the Dark Side, we choose ISB, well, they choose ISB Agent because it was their only option. And they play P38. And there's nothing to ping, so we take the initiative. And our next draw is Direct Hit and Super Laser Blast. We resource Super Laser Blast here, we have the board kind of under control, and in our hand is a bunch of removal already. I feel like we're not going to really need it, but who knows, maybe we will. So pop quiz for everybody. We're on turn 3, the 4 resource turn. Do we direct hit this P38, or do we hold all of our resources to Unexpected Escape if they triple Dark Raid? Well, we'll find out what I do here. We have initiative and we pass the turn because we're not direct hitting the P38. They P38 into my base, dealing 3 damage. I pass, and now my opponent actually claims. This is amazing for us. To me, this telegraphs the only play that they had in their opening hand was triple Dark Raid. And if it wasn't triple Dark Raid and they played a unit out, well, we were direct hitting it anyway, because then they wouldn't have the triple Dark Raid resources. And so them claiming here actually saves us a removal. We take the 3 damage, but they're kind of behind because we want to play for the end game, and they're the ones who are trying to maintain board presence. So them claiming the initiative is fine, and we go to the next turn. The next draw is No Glory Only Results and Maul. I feel like No Glory Only Results, we're not going to need 2 of them, and Maul is getting to the point where he can come from hand and destroy Jango. Resource the second No Glory. We're at 5 resources, and our opponent resources up to 5 as well. No surprise there. So he swings in for P38 again, put us at 6. I know it doesn't kind of work this way, but if you think about Colossus, we've essentially only taken 1 damage if we were running a 30 HP base. And that's what's really nice about Colossus. If we've basically got to sit there and take hits, and we've only essentially been damaged 1 if you have a 30 HP base. I pay 4 here because we want to leave 1 open resource for Unexpected Escape to direct hit this P38. Now the board is clear. We can stop a triple Dark Raid target if they have it, which is really important here. So they're going to flip out Jango, and then we're going to telegraph what we're doing here. Now this could have been a bluff. There's no guarantee that I have Unexpected Escape in my hand. So I pass the turn, and they hit me for 3 again. So we're at 9 damage, and I pass the turn. Now they pay 5, and this is really smart by this player. This is actually one of my friends. They've played me a bunch. I think this was like game 6 that we've played together into this matchup. And he learned that he can play Boba Fett unit as a unit, and it kind of dodges direct hit. I can't really ping it to steal it. So this is actually a really smart play by him, in my opinion. But unfortunately, I have No Glory Only Results, and we're going to move to 6 resources next. So I claim. And I think this little example here highlights what's so strong about this deck. If you think about how this would have played out in a normal deck, you would be in a really bad spot because Jango's still on the board. and they have a 5/4 shielded unit out, and they'll be able to triple dark raid and exhaust your whole board. Well, in our case, we're sitting pretty right now. We don't have anything to exhaust on the board. We have removal for Boba Fett, and we have unexpected escape to exhaust whatever they play. So we draw Pershing and Super Laser Technician. Now I decide to resource Pershing. We have 4 cards in hand, and I really want to try and ramp if I can. Again, the plan here at 6 resources is to play no glory only results to defeat Boba Fett, and then if they triple dark raid or sneak attack, we unexpected escape it. Having unexpected escape in this matchup, you feel invincible. It's actually almost probably a little bad to actually feel as good as I do right now. And I do apologize that I put some stuff off screen. It's really hard to tell where all my cards line up. Plus, I've zoomed this in a little bit so that it's kind of easier to see the cards. So we pay 5, and we no glory Boba Fett. And now we just have his father, who's going to swing in for 3 again. Which is fine, and now we're at 12. So he's essentially hit us 4 times for 3 damage. That's, I think, how it played out. Honestly, we're okay with that. If you think about this in terms of 30 HP base, we've only taken 7 damage. And now we pass the turn. He has all 6 resources up. He plays P38. So now we feel good. Even if he triple dark raids, he can't bring in Ruthless Raider, Fett's Fire Spray, or War Juggernaut. He can only really play like one of his 3-cost ships or 4-cost ships, which is only 3 attacks. So at this point, I decide to claim the initiative. The idea here is we're also at 7 resources next turn. We know that we have ramp in our hand with Super Laser Technician. If they just play something outright, we can steal it with Palpatine. And we also have Unexpected Escape to exhaust any triple dark raid or sneak attack target. You're probably going to get tired of me saying that by the end of this. We claimed, and yes, he does play triple dark raid, finds Kylo's TIE Silencer, and then he hits me for another 3 and puts me at 15. And this is what I'm talking about. You let these small units hit you. He's hit my base 5 times, but he's only done 3 damage apiece. So he's chipping away at me, but we're getting to the point where we can start taking over. If we see a Super Laser Blast coming up, now I know I resourced it early. If we get another one, we just wipe this board clean and then it's just game over. Kylo's TIE goes back to hand. And so I'm going to leave it open because we kind of know that information. He could have resourced it, but I'm going to leave it there because we kind of do know that it exists. So our next draw here is Merciless Contest and Avenger. And I decide to resource the Maul here. There really is no great reason to resource the Maul here, but I'm not that worried. I still want to ramp to get us to 8 resources. I want to play Unexpected Escape and Avenger. So that leaves Merciless Contest and Maul. And in my mind, and this actually might end up being a misplay, the plan is Super Laser Tech, Merciless Contest. So we get our ramp, we get our removal, and then we still have a resource left over to Unexpected Escape. One thing that you want to know, a lot of times in these matchups, you do want to fiddle around a little bit. That way you're not telegraphing that you're waiting for them to do something to hit it. You want to kind of surprise them. Now, at this point, they kind of know that I might have Unexpected Escape in hand because I have telegraphed it earlier, but who knows, they may have forgot. So we choose to resource Maul at this point. So we play out our Super Laser Tech. They run into base for 3 with P38 because they probably expect like a Merciless Contest here or a Ping Steal. So we pay the 3 and we Merciless Contest. Now, you could argue it's actually better here to Palp's ability to pop our Super Laser Tech and deal 1 damage to P38 and then steal it with the Palpatine flip, and we also get to draw an extra card. But I chose to do it this way. This is also maybe one of the other reasons why I've cut Merciless Contest, is because it actually tricks you into maybe misplaying from time to time. So now we're at 2 ready resources. This is also weird. I assume that this is telegraphing a War Juggernaut possibly, even though they could have just done it with War Juggernaut. They P38 and put a damage on Jango. Now I assume War Juggernaut's coming, but War Juggernaut could just hit Jango anyway if they wanted to get the extra damage. But we pass the turn because we have Unexpected Escape in hand. And I'm not that smart. I played him off the table, but he plays another Boba Fett pilot unit from Jump to Lightspeed. And I'll try and scoot him on so you can see him. And this is actually fine. We claim the initiative. and we see what we draw. The best draw here we actually do get, and that's Scanning Officer and Super Laser Blast. This makes this decision really easy. Since we ramped to 8 last turn, we're now at 9 resources, which means that we can still Super Laser Blast this board and leave 1 open resource to Unexpected Escape. So we pay 8 to Super Laser Blast the board. Now this player, he's played me a lot, so he actually realized that Unexpected Escape was coming, and he plays War Juggernaut. And so I take the initiative, and we're feeling great. He's thrown one of his big hits down. It didn't hit anything. It didn't exhaust the board. We still have Jango, and we have Avenger in hand, so we know we have removal for it. And on the next turn, we're going to be at 10 resources. So we can Avenger to remove War Juggernaut and then play Unexpected Escape if they try to sneak attack or triple dark raid something in. And we draw Maul and Resupply. Now, Resupply this late in the game is actually kind of good because we do use it as a resource. Because typically this late in the game, you want to keep your cards and not resource all the time. That way you build up like a card base to use with all your resources. But resupplies are kind of useless, so I'm going to just throw it down in the resupply row. And again, we're at 10 resources here. Now that we drew Maul, this becomes kind of interesting, possibly. There's an idea here that instead of throwing Avenger out, we actually Maul here. The reason why is if we Maul, we run into War Juggernaut, and Maul lives, War Juggernaut gets defeated. War Juggernaut is the better target to pop with Palpatine's ability than Avenger, because Avenger is a just stronger unit. We still have 1 open resource for Unexpected Escape, and technically we'll have 2 open resources if we draw one of our turn 1 plays if we pop Maul, and then we can flip Palpatine and steal something. So we kind of get a removal and a steal. Now, you could argue that you just play out Maul anyway and then pop it and don't defeat the War Juggernaut with him. But I think that's a little too fancy. What if they have Waylay or something? Then you're just kind of screwed. And again, you'll notice we're at 18 damage. He's only hit us with 3 attack units. So that means that he's hit us 6 times for 3 attack. And this is what I mean by you let the small damage hit you. Because he's had to waste all of this time hitting our base. And we're only kind of at half of our HP. And this is, if you look at our hand and look at the board, I feel like we're in a winning position here. I go ahead and I do the Maul play. Maul takes 3, War Juggernaut goes down. Now, you'll notice a while ago, I actually missed 3 damage on my base. So remember when I said I was at 18? Well, I'm actually at 21. It was a few turns ago. He hit me with Jango and I missed it. So I apologize for that. We're actually at 21 damage on base. But I think we're still in a winning position. So he's going to play Triple Dark Raid finally, right? We've been waiting for something like this. And he kind of misses. He gets 7th Fleet Defender, which isn't the best card to actually see right now for us because we're trying to ping and steal something. And if he's going to replay this out and he gets a shield, well, we can't really ping and steal it. But we just say, okay, you know what? This isn't something worthy Unexpected Escaping, in my opinion. I actually passed the turn. And the reason why is they still have, I know that their resources are kind of jumbled up here. They still have 6 open resources. So if they're holding on to another Triple Dark Raid or Sneak Attack, this could be bait to finally figure out what am I holding that stops this. So I'm going to let 3 more damage run into my base from the 7th Fleet because I think they could sneak attack in a Ruthless Raider here. By sneaking in a Ruthless Raider or War Juggernaut and hitting my base for 5 damage or 6 damage, that is a losing play. So I passed the turn. We realize that the board is going to be clear after this turn right now, and I'm not that worried. This was a weird play. I think they were trying to bait us out to take initiative or something to play another card, but he fizzles a sneak attack. He doesn't have anything to play with it, and that leads me to believe that he actually resourced this Kylo's Tie Silencer. So I actually claim initiative here because even if he sneak attacks something in, it's only a 3 attack unit, And it doesn't look like he actually has anything to sneak attack in. And if he triple dark raids something, it's only going to be a 3 attack unit. And yes, Kylo's TIE Silencer is probably in the resource row at this point. So I remove it from our open information, or for our like guessing open information. And 7th Fleet Defender is now, we know, in his hand. Now, our next draw is Resupply Carrier and No Glory Only results. I decide to resource Resupply Carrier. I'm probably never playing it at this point in the game. No Glory Only results is one of the best cards we can see because it insulates us from a Ruthless Raider. And we're at 24 damage. We still haven't flipped Palpatine. And you might be thinking to yourself, this looks really bad for us, but I don't think it is. We've turned a corner. Yes, we've taken 24 damage, but they're gonna, in their head, they could say, well, I can finish this dude off by sneak attack-inning a Devastator, because that is 13 damage and we're at 11 health left. But what we have in our back pocket is Unexpected Escape. So I swing in for 7 here. We need to put damage on their base at some point to win the game. And they play 7th Fleet Defender for 3. And that leaves 7 open resources. That is a magic number in Jango because that is a sneak attack Devastator number. Well, we have enough resources here. We're going to go ahead and play Avenger to just knock out the 7th Fleet. And if they play something and not sneak attack something in, we can then just ping our Maul to steal whatever that they bring in. And this is, again, you can see what I said earlier. I'm greedy with Palpatine. There's an argument that you should even just flip him on the open board here. He does play sneak attack, and he sneak attacks in a Devastator. And Devastator is ready. And he puts all 4 on my base. So now we're at 28. And this is like, it was basically a Hail Mary. This is game if it lands. Now, I do have the 1 resource, Unexpected Escape, the Devastator. Now, I will say this kind of won me the game because I lose right here if I let this through. But we played for this, right? We kind of set this up. We've been holding on to it the whole game. Would I have lost? I don't know, because I have played the game around Unexpected Escape. So they can't do anything. Devastator's now going to be defeated at the end of the turn, and they claim. We pass. We draw Super Laser Technician and Vigilance, and Devastator is defeated. So now, our opponent is at 10 resources, and I know it's hard to see for us, but we're at 11 resources. Our opponent goes ahead and plays IG-2000. He does ping both Maul and Avenger. He exhausts Avenger. And then I did this out of order, but I swung in for 7, putting him at 14. Now they play Ruthless Raider, and they set up my Maul to be defeated. So I'm glad that I got off the damage. The Maul is now defeated, and 2 more damage go on my base. And this is, you know, kind of not looking great. 30 damage on base. We would actually have lost here if we're running a 30 HP base. So after I make my next play, my opponent concedes. Now, I don't know what happens afterwards. I don't know if this game is 100% decided. I feel like it might be. But what I want to ask you, the audience here, is what do you do in this situation? Because I think there is a right answer, but there are multiple play lines that you have here that you could do. I think it's important to actually show you this play line because I don't think it's as apparent as what most people would do in this situation. So my next move here is to play Super Laser Technician. The reason I kept it in my hand was specifically so I could ping something with it and draw an extra card and then steal something with Palpatine. The whole reason I kept it. We needed a unit to do that, and I really didn't want to do it with Avenger. So my opponent concedes at this point, but I think it's important to continue the game. Now, we have 8 open resources. What do you do here? Because you can No Glory Only results the Ruthless Raider, put 2 damage on IG-2000 and 2 damage on the opponent's base. That would put them at 16, and then you can flip Palpatine and steal it. And that's a good option. But I'm going to raise you one better. I don't like being at 5 HP. I feel like they could burn us out. So what I decide to do is pop the Super Laser Technician and put that damage on the Ruthless Raider. And then we would draw like a mystery card. I don't know what the card is because my opponent conceded. Then I flip Palpatine out and I steal the Ruthless Raider. I swing in with Palpatine. I actually defeat my opponent's Ruthless Raider. So 4 damage comes on from Palpatine and 2 damage comes on from Ruthless Raider. The 2 damage also goes on to IG-2000. So now our opponent's at 20. IG-2000 is at 2 health. So we also would have drawn a second card. But we're also at 8 resources. And we have enough for Vigilance. I Vigilance this IG-2000 and heal 5. So now the board is clear and I'm at 25 HP. You're the judge. Would you rather be at 25 HP and have Avenger and Palpatine, or be at 30 HP and have IG-2000 that you would have if you did like the No Glory play? I think this is the best play we could make in this scenario. That is the end of game 1. And I just wanted to show you that the Jango matchup, again, is kind of easy and you just have to be patient. So let's go to Spotlight Game 2. Here in Spotlight Game 2, we're against a different Jango player. So this is not the same player that I played in Game 1. I don't actually know this player. They also probably aren't expecting unexpected escapes and the things that I have planned for them. Our opening hand here is Resupply, Pershing, Power of the Dark Side, Super Laser Technician, and Avenger. Now, I decide that what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to resource Avenger and Resupply. The reason why is I have a turn 1 play, which is Pershing. Then on turn 2, I can play Super Laser Technician. And then on turn 3, use Pershing's ability to defeat the Super Laser Tech, to draw a card, and ramp at the same time. So it's slightly better than Resupply. And I'm also going to resource Avenger here because it's too early in the game to try and hold on to Avenger all game. And Power of the Dark Side will remove something at some point early on. And I can use Power of the Dark Side. And maybe if I draw Unexpected Escape, we can power something and then tap something in the same turn. So we go ahead and we resource Resupply and Avenger. And notice, I didn't hard mulligan for Unexpected Escape because I do have a game plan right now. In our opening hand, we don't have an answer to Triple Dark Raid. We hope that if we see 4 to 5 cards, which is what we're planning on seeing before a Triple Dark Raid could happen, we'll have some kind of answer. And we have the initiative, so we pay 2 to play Pershing. Now, our opponent plays ISB Agent. And he shows us a surprise strike. So he pings Pershing for 1. So now if one more ping lands on Pershing, he can be TTown. Now I'm going to leave the surprise strike open in hand because we kind of know that it's there, right? Even though they could resource it, we're planning around them having a surprise strike. So I claim here, and then our opponent plays Greedo. And this is where I was talking about, maybe we don't tap Pershing, and instead we Palpatine's ability Pershing. So we're going to consider that for our next round. But let's see what draws we get. So we draw Vigilance and Direct Hit. Both extremely good cards. The game plan right now is we're probably going to use our Palpatine's ability to defeat Pershing, use the ping damage to ping Greedo, and have 2 open resources. And we hope that maybe we draw a turn 1 play that we can play out and still use all of our resources. That being said, I think it's too little too late for Power of the Dark Side. We already have Direct Hit. The problem here is maybe I should have kept Power of the Dark Side, but worst come to worst, we can just pass on turn 3. If they Triple Dark Raid anything in, we just Direct Hit it and we don't have to worry about it. Just to reiterate, the plan right now, use Palpatine's ability to defeat Pershing and not use Pershing's ability. We're going to do the ping damage to defeat Greedo to save us 3 damage. So we're mitigating damage and drawing a card, which is what we want Pershing to do anyway. The idea here is if we tap Pershing and deal 1 damage to him, they can just TTown him and defeat him essentially for free. And then they get to push 3 extra damage with Greedo. And Greedo also can kind of deal 5 damage if they get lucky with their discard. So we tap Palpatine and do what I said, where we basically defeat Greedo and draw a card. And we do draw a turn 1 play. We get super lucky here, and we actually draw Onyx Squadron Brute, which is probably the best turn 1 play that we could draw here, since it is a heal 2 when defeated, and we can actually defeat it ourselves. So our opponent goes ahead, and he plays the Surprise Strike from hand to deal 4 damage to our base. And we pay the extra 2 to actually get out Onyx Squadron Brute. Now, before we draw, I just want to tell you what the game plan is currently, and then see if our draw decides to change what we do here. We're going to see what they do. If they attack with ISB Agent, which I think is the smart play, we attack their base for 2. That way, we're kind of just messing around to wait to see if this Triple Dark Raid happens. If Triple Dark Raid happens and they hit a big target, we're just going to direct hit it and get it out of the way. If they play a card that's not Triple Dark Raid, we then can play Super Laser Technician, pop it with Palpatine to ramp. But that way it doesn't leave us open to Triple Dark Raid, and we really only take 1 damage. And like I've said, we will trade the 1 damage to avoid like the 5 or 6 from Ruthless Raider or War Juggernaut. Our draw. We get Unexpected Escape and we get Dr. Pershing. Our plans now change. We are at 4 resources. So what we can actually do here is we can play out Super Laser Tech for 3. That leaves us with 1 open resource. We can then use Palpatine's ability to defeat Super Laser Tech and ramp and draw a card. And since Super Laser Tech comes in ready as a resource, it still gives us 1 open resource for Unexpected Escape. So the plan does change a little bit. This way it allows us to ramp and take care of Triple Dark Raid. Now, I think since we're already going to be planning on drawing a card here from the Palpatine ability to ping Super Laser Tech, we resource Pershing. So we're at 4 resources and our opponent is at 4 resources. And our opponent does have 3 cards in hand because they played 2 cards early on. So we're already kind of getting card advantage. We have more cards in hand than they do, and that's how we're going to have more answers than they do. So our opponent has initiative, and he spends 1 to play this First Order Stormtrooper. That makes our Super Laser Tech play really good. So now they only have 3 open resources, and we don't need to worry about a big Triple Dark Raid target. They can really only bring in their 6-drop Triple Dark Raid targets on 4 resources. 3 resources can't bring in a Ruthless Raider or a War Juggernaut. So now we play Super Laser Technician. And this is going to be really good for us. What the plan is now, and then our opponent now swings in for 1. So that puts us at 5. So now, what our plan is we're eventually going to use Palpatine's ability to pop our Super Laser Tech and defeat this First Order Stormtrooper, and then we're going to soak that indirect damage onto our Onyx Squadron Brute. But before we do that, we're actually going to attack in with Onyx Squadron Brute. When the Stormtrooper deals the indirect damage to our Onyx Squadron Brute, he'll be able to tap it. So we want to push that 2 damage in while we can. And this is kind of an order of operations thing. So we put in the 2 damage because he would be tapped anyway from soaking the indirect damage. We got lucky here. It looks like the only play that they had was this First Order Stormtrooper. Now, I don't know what in their deck could possibly have prevented them from drawing it, unless they only have like their big haymakers here. So we did get a little lucky here, but again, we kind of have a plan if they did have something big. So we go ahead and we pop our Super Laser Tech to deal damage to the First Order Stormtrooper. That leaves us with 1 open resource, and we've ramped. So we're now at 5 resources. We draw a second Unexpected Escape. We soak that damage onto our Onyx Squadron Brute. So our opponent has claimed already. I'm going to show that he claimed now, but he claimed before this. And our draw is Takedown and Super Laser Blast. So we have nothing but removal in hand. So Takedown is not that great here, especially because we have Direct Hit and Vigilance and Super Laser Blast. So I'm going to resource Takedown because Direct Hit is the better removal against Jango. We have 2 answers to Triple Dark Raids. We have Vigilance, and now we have Super Laser Blast if things get really out of hand. And you may be looking at this thinking that we're in a tight spot because we have no units, we have nothing but removal. But I actually really like our position. We've ramped, so now we're at 6 resources and our opponent is only at 5. And at 6 resources, if they play a vehicle, we can just direct hit it. If they play a vehicle, we can Vigilance and heal. We can pop Palpatine to draw a card. We can direct hit and Unexpected Escape. So we have a lot of options here. The more damage we mitigate, the longer the game goes on, we start feeling better and the scales start tipping in our favor. So our opponent runs into base for 1. And we, again, are just kind of messing around, waiting to react to what our opponent's doing. So we pump 2 into base. And it's kind of funny. You know, they have 21 HP left, and we have 29. So we're doing pretty good. I know that technically there's a 10-point differential here at the start of the game. Health-wise, we're looking good, and the game is going longer. So they flip Jango out. I do think about unexpected escaping Jango here, because we have 2. But I hold off, and I let the 3 damage come in, because they might have triple Dark Raid into sneak attack, and we can react to both of those right now, and that would really set them back. And I'll just let them hit me for 3. So by passing the turn, they hit us for 3, putting us at 9 damage. And I pass the turn again. Again, we're at this little standpoint here. I haven't used any of my resources, but they haven't used any of theirs. Holding resources for the control deck is really good. Holding resources for the tempo mid-range deck is really bad. We're going to go to the next turn. If I draw a ramp card on our next turn, I can essentially get Palpatine out if I wanted to. And that's really bad for him because he can't develop a board because I can just super laser blast it. And then I have unexpected escapes, direct hits, and vigilances in my back pocket. And so our opponent actually Tarkin Towns our Onyx Squadron Brute, which is good for us. We don't care. I understand that maybe they were trying to prevent the ping on one of their units. And maybe instead of passing the turn, I could have Palpatine's ability to my own Onyx Squadron Brute to draw a card, because I am at 6 resources. Could have popped my own Onyx Squadron Brute, drawn a card, have 5 resources left over to then direct hit and unexpected escape. So this actually might be a misplay on my part. I mean, we'll waste their Tarkin Town on Onyx Squadron Brute because we actually get to heal too. So we go from 9 to 7, and they no longer have Tarkin Town. If that's what they want to use their 5 HP on, good. Then I pass the turn and they claim. No resources were used, and the only thing that changed this round is Jango flipped out. And to us, Jango on the board is not that scary. What's really scary is their big sneak attacked vehicles. Our next draw is Avenger and Scanning Officer. Now, I resource Scanning Officer because we're getting to the stage where Avenger's going to be coming out soon-ish. I know that we can play Scanning Officer and pop it, but we're going to have a bunch of removal. We might be super laser blasting soon. So I decide to go ahead and resource it. That puts us at 7. And now we can do something really cool at 7. We can actually use our Vigilance to heal 5 and pop ISB Agent, and then unexpected escape a triple Dark Raid target if they bring it in. We could also direct hit something and unexpected escape, but we're going to try and react to what our opponent does. So they're at 6 and we're at 7. They swing Jango into base, putting us at 10. Now, I decide at this point that I'm going to play Vigilance and leave 1 up. Again, this player hasn't played me, so they are unaware maybe that unexpected escape even exists. Vigilance kind of is a heal 6 since we are defeating the ISB agent finally. And now if we draw Power of the Dark Side on our next turn, there's a chance that we'll be able to just defeat Jango with Power of the Dark Side. So I heal 5 and defeat the ISB agent with Vigilance. Again, we leave 1 open for unexpected escape. And if you notice, our opponent doesn't know that we have these. They just know that we're waiting for something. Even if you didn't have unexpected escapes, if you play like you do, it can really mess with your opponent and prevent them from doing things that they want to do. So they pay all 6 to play Ruthless Raider, and they hit our base for 2. I claim here. Reason why: we can direct hit this Ruthless Raider on the next turn, and that would put us at 9 damage. Jango can swing in and do an extra 3. If we draw no glory only results, that would also be kind of good here because we can steal it and prevent that 2 damage. But we have an answer. We could also just super laser blast the board on our next turn to take care of Jango and Ruthless Raider. The only problem is that leaves us open to a triple Dark Raid or a sneak attack. And they can sneak attack Devastator in at 7 resources. So Super Laser Blast on the next turn isn't that great. In 2 turns, Super Laser Blast becomes really good. We draw a second direct hit and a Pike Sentinel. So we have a direct hit already in hand, a Super Laser Blast, and an Avenger. All of those are essentially removal cards. I feel like direct hit is a little bit not great. Just having a redundant direct hit isn't that good right now. And Pike Sentinel can stop something on the ground. And even if they play, if they play weird, maybe Jango doesn't swing in and we can actually play Pike Sentinel out to stop damage on the ground. It's also worth noting that since he's used TTown, we can play Pike Sentinel if he triple dark raids in like a War Juggernaut. You can actually play Pike Sentinel and then force them to respond to it. If they spend a lot of resources to get rid of Pike Sentinel just so they can swing in with War Juggernaut, you actually exhaust more resources from them, and then you unexpected escape their War Juggernaut. And essentially, they spent all of these resources just to hit you, and then it was all for nothing. So think about things as like, can a Pike Sentinel for 2 resources take 2 cards from your opponent just so they can try and swing in with a War Juggernaut, and then you just unexpected escape them and just completely tap them out. So we should be at 8 resources here, and our opponent is at 7. And again, Super Laser Blast, not a great option this turn because it leaves us wide open to a 13 damage Devastator sneak attack play. And that is how you lose games. So looking at the table right now. So the game plan right now, we direct hit this Ruthless Raider and we take 2 damage, bringing us to 9. We expect them to swing in with Jango, putting us at 12 damage. Then we're going to play Pike Sentinel. And we have 2 resources left over. What we can do is we can pop our own Pike Sentinel to draw a card and then still leave one open for unexpected escape. That gives us a lot of productive things to do in this match while we wait for the Triple Dark Raider sneak attack to come out. So we direct hit this Ruthless Raider as our first action and we take the 2 damage. Now we're at 9. And they do swing in with Jango, putting us at 12. And we play the Pike Sentinel out. Now, if they triple dark raid in a War Juggernaut, we can just pass and see if they like have a waylay for this Pike Sentinel. And if we can burn our opponent's waylay or like burn a daring raid and then just unexpected escape the War Juggernaut, that essentially cost our opponent a card that they didn't need to do, and we're kind of baiting them to do it. They play P38 and they put 1 damage on Pike Sentinel. Now, we are at 8 resources here. We don't have a great answer right now for Jango, but we could pop our Pike Sentinel to deal 1 damage to the P38, flip Palpatine to steal it, and then if we swung into Jango, it would put him at 1 HP, or we could swing into base. So we actually are going to pop the Pike Sentinel to deal 1 damage to the P38. If we steal the P38 and then pop it, we could deal 2 extra damage to Jango. We ran into Jango with Palpatine. That would bring him at a total of 6 damage. So we're 1 short of being able to defeat Jango on this flip. But we get super lucky here. We get a Maul. So on the next turn, Super Laser Blast kind of becomes irrelevant because we can just Maul and still have open mana for unexpected escape. Now, in the original game, I did think about this move a lot. I didn't know if I wanted to take P38 or not, but it feels, again, like a good enough. I don't want to hold Palpatine for too long. We do need to put pressure on our opponent at some point. So they go ahead and claim, and we swing in for 4, and that puts him at 8 damage. And I leave P38 alive. I could have pinged him, and then when I play Maul, get like 2 overwhelm damage off Jango because I could put both damage in and draw an extra card. But I do kind of value the 3-2, and maybe that soaks a ping over Emperor Palpatine or something like that. So we keep that around. And we draw Power and Resupply Carrier. A little too late for Resupply Carrier, but Power of the Dark Side's really good right now. So we're at 9 resources. Avenger's not the best play here because we're open to one of their battle tricks. We could have Super Laser Blast followed up by an unexpected escape, but we kind of control the board right now. So to me, my favorite play would be just play Maul, run into Jango, attack base with Palpatine, and then exhaust whatever they bring in if they do a combat trick. And again, we're at 9 resources and our opponent is at 8. And then once we get to 10 resources, I feel like this game is over because we can unexpected escape anything that they bring in, and we get a throw down Avenger, and we're already going to be able to take care of Jango on this turn. So they pay 3, and they bring in the Triple Dark Raid finally. I don't know how long they've been holding on to this, and they actually hit one of their big cards. They hit War Juggernaut. A lot of people would probably be thinking that this is the worst card that they could hit right now. I mean, Maybe Devastator at this point would be a little bit worse than War Juggernaut. But this is one of their big endgame cards that everybody's saying is super good and super broken. Now, I do think they sort of misplay here. They tap the whole board. They don't hit themselves, which you could do with War Juggernaut. And they clear my P38. And by clearing my P38, it actually lowers this War Juggernaut's attack. So in reality, currently War Juggernaut has 5 attack. But he could be up to 7 right now if he pinged himself and left my P38 alive. So I pay 1 to unexpected escape the War Juggernaut. Those 4 resources that were paid, completely wasted. I guess they did get our P38. And now the ping on Jango was from my P38. The reason why I did that was because we're planning on mauling it and we just get the 1 overwhelm damage. And Jango swings in for 5. And that's the last thing Jango's going to do. Because here comes Maul. So Maul takes out Jango, and we get the 1 overwhelm damage. So now they're at 9 because of the overwhelm from Maul. They claimed, and War Juggernaut goes back to hand, and we know it's in his hand. And that's fine. So now War Juggernaut's in their hand. If they play War Juggernaut on this turn, we just Avenger. Our draw is Unexpected Escape and Vigilance. Now we control the board. I really don't see us playing Super Laser Blast, so that's what we decide to resource here. I want you to know that I've also missed 3 damage on Maul that he should have since he ran into Jango. So our opponent does play out the War Juggernaut. He deals 1 damage to both, and he taps Maul. Now, Maul technically only has 2 HP left, and I will correct that here in a second. So I just go ahead and I throw out Avenger to destroy their War Juggernaut. It allows me to put pressure on board, and I still get a swing in with Palpatine. And there I go, I correct the damage that should be on Maul. Our opponent then plays 1 to daring raid it, and he actually does take out Maul. But I still have Palpatine and Avenger on board. Yes, he can keep exhausting Avenger, but we have Power of the Dark Side in our back pocket, as well as 2 unexpected escapes if he tries to Haymaker us, and we have Vigilance to heal. So we swing in with Palpatine, and that puts him at 13 damage. So it's 13 to 15. Our opponent claims. Our opponent is at 10 resources, and we are at 11. Our draw is Resupply and Darth Vader. It's a little too late for Resupply, so we do resource it to move up, and one of my cats walks on the screen. Now, they're going to pay 6 for their last ditch effort to War Juggernaut. They hit Palpatine and Avenger and a tap Avenger, which makes sense. I don't have a Vader in hand because I forget to do it. I'll fix it right now. We send in Power of the Dark Side to defeat the War Juggernaut, and then we're going to push 4 damage with Palpatine. And we are at 11, so we could still even Vader here and spread out our board super wide. But as soon as we play Power of the Dark Side, our opponent claims, we send in 4 damage with Palpatine, and then our opponent concedes. So this was a big game here. I felt like even though we played very little units, and it was kind of a mind game the entire game, I felt like we had this in the bag from start to finish, even without drawing Unexpected Escape in our opening hand. So let's move on to the 3rd Spotlight game. Game 3 is against a Han Nabbit Village. So our opening hand is Resupply Carrier, Takedown, Relentless Resupply Carrier, and Power of the Dark Side. I have the initiative, and I feel like this hand is not that good because we're going to try and hard mulligan for Scanning Officer. So we throw this one out, and we draw 5 more cards. We get Avenger, Relentless, Vader, Relentless, and Takedown. I don't think we're getting to 9 resources, and again, the whole point here is we have to try and stop DJ. Now, I want to highlight here that I misplay significantly in this game, and this is one of the first Han games I played with this deck, so it took me a minute to learn what to do. So we resource both Relentless, because I don't think we're getting there, even though Relentless would be good to shut off all their Cunnings if we make it that far. We keep Takedown in hand, just so if for some reason we can play it and they DJ flip, we can knock them out. We have no turn 1 plays, so we claim. And then our Han friend is going to do Han things. He's going to use Han's ability to get 3 resources and play Liberated Slaves. So he has a 3/5 on board. And we kind of have nothing to defeat it with. So our draw here is Vigilance and Super Laser Technician. At least we have a play. Now, I'm going to resource Avenger because, again, the early game is really what matters into Han, and I'm hoping that once I do my Palpatine flip, I can take the game over. Han doesn't really have that much in the way of defeating. He has a lot of bounce capability. So my plan here is to play Super Laser Technician and then pop him on the next turn, because that's about all we can do. So we pay the 3 to play Super Laser Tech. Our opponent plays Bodhi and takes our takedown from us. There really wasn't much I could do in this situation to insulate from this, and it just feels really bad. So now they've basically taken one of our answers to their DJ. We claim because we have nothing to do, and they actually do forget to swing with liberated slaves here. This is not a misplay by me, for once. Now, I draw no glory only results in resupply carrier. I resource resupply carrier because no glory only results at least can take care of DJ. Maybe there's an argument to actually resource either Vigilance or Vader here, because resupply carrier, if I get DJ'd, can still help me ramp to try and maintain the resources I was at. But we go ahead and resource it. Again, we haven't drawn that great in this game, but again, that's no excuse. Now, this is a misplay by me. So I'm at 4 resources. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, if I run Super Laser Technician into something, it gets me 5 ready resources and I can play no glory only results. Except, like, do I really want to play no glory only results? I could have popped my own Super Laser Tech, be at 4 resources, and have drawn an extra card, which gives me another answer potentially to a DJ flip, especially if they Kira and name the only card I currently have as an answer. So I think this is misplay 1 that I did. And Han, on 4 resources, he actually plays Kira, and he does name no glory only results. So now I'm kind of screwed. My hand is very dead. Next turn, I have Vigilance. The next turn is the Han flip turn, and that's extremely important. I need Unexpected Escape there, so I can stop Han at 7, or I need to draw my other takedown to try and be able to defeat the DJ if it comes up. So they run into base for a total of 6. I draw a second Vader, and I actually get an Unexpected Escape. I resource the Vader just because I already have one in hand. After all the bad draws and everything that I've been talking about here, I actually did draw an out. Unexpected Escape allows me to exhaust Han when he flips, which doesn't allow Han to get to 7 resources. So on the next turn, if I prevent the DJ this turn, he would be at 6 resources and would have to attack with Han as his first action. That would allow me to maybe even play Vader to bring out something to stop it. It would allow me to play Vader to maybe defeat Kira. It would allow me to maybe draw an extra cards to answer the DJ and doesn't deramp me. So the Unexpected Escape here is crucial, but I make a mistake. Remember everything I said about leaving Unexpected Escape in hand? I thought this showcase game was really good at showcasing why we need to be patient. I saw this juicy Vigilance in hand, and I said, oh wait, I can basically do an 8 health swing. If I defeat the Bodhi and heal 5, that looks really good right now, right? Except I'm now completely tapped. I have to claim. Han gets to 7. Han gets to put all this damage into my base. That 8 health swing doesn't look so good when I'm sitting at 11 damage on base. And a DJ's coming, potentially, and it does come. They play DJ, and I lose my resource. Now, I cut the rest of the game because the rest of the game is just me trying to hang on when this game is obviously lost. I have to replay the 6 resource turn. Everything in my hand is kind of null and void now. Unexpected Escape isn't good anymore because I didn't prevent the Han getting the DJ on time. No Glory Only results cost 8 because of Kira, and I can't play Vader. So it's just an endless cycle of me struggling, and I get blown out this game. I don't even think I deal damage to the opponent's base. And this is just a good showcase of why you have to hold an answer for the Han flip turn. Now, I hope you don't mind. This last game was a little long, and I decided to record it at 2 times speed. Maybe I should start doing this for all of my gameplay games, because I don't think 2.5 speed is that crazy to follow along. and it doesn't take as long. It makes the videos extremely bloated. Like, this video is an hour and 15 minutes of just spotlight games, but maybe you like them. Anyway, our last game is also against Han, yellow, but this time he's running 30 HP and not Nabbit Village. Our opening hand is Power of the Dark Side, Avenger, Super Laser Blast, Pershing, and Unexpected Escape. Now, this is kind of a good hand. Our opponent has initiative, though. So we could play Pershing, and then on the next turn, try and Power of the Dark Side. We have Unexpected Escape to stop the DJ on Han's flip turn, but it's only one answer, and we saw what happened last game with only having one answer in hand. And like I said, we want a hard mulligan for scanning officers. So we do mulligan this. It was a decent hand, definitely above average, and if it was the hand I mulliganed into, I wouldn't be sad. We draw Super Laser Tech, Avenger, Super Laser Tech, Pershing, and Scanning Officer. This hand is super good. We're going to drop Scanning Officer and Avenger. We have one way to ramp in hand with the one Scanning Officer. We have Pershing and we have Scanning Officer. So we're definitely Scanning Officering this turn. If they Spark of Rebellion us, we still have a turn 1 play, so it's not the end of the world. And they'll probably Spark of Rebellion Scanning Officer. And that leaves us to play Pershing, followed up by our ramp on turn 2, which is really nice. So this hand is actually kind of tricky for Han to play around if they try and Spark us. So Han does Han things and he plays one resource. And I am salivating because I finally get to do the best play against Han on turn 1. They use their Han ability. We play Scanning Officer and can hit all 3 of their resources. And we hit the absolute nuts here. A DL-44 blaster, a DJ, and a tech. It completely blows out all 3 of their resources. They can't play a card in hand. They essentially played nothing this turn because they did have to give up a card in hand. We've defeated a DJ, we've defeated a tech, and we've defeated a DL-44 blaster. So they claim we draw Power of the Dark Side and Unexpected Escape. We're resourcing Pershing here. They're already behind, which is good. We might be able to trade into something that they play, and we're going to be able to ramp. So there's a chance we can keep this board relatively clean already. It's going to be hard for this pawn to maybe have a second DJ so early on in the game. And Pershing is good, but we're not playing him at least until next turn. And I'm hoping I get something better than a Pershing for next turn. So our opponent plays 3 for a Liberated Slaves, and we've seen that before. That's probably what they were going to play turn 1. And we pay 3 for a Super Laser Tech. Our opponent claims, and we put in 2 damage to base. Our next draw is Unexpected Escape and Director Krennic. Now, there is an argument here to keep the second Unexpected Escape, because if they Bodhi us, we would have the second Unexpected Escape to prevent it. I keep Krennic. The reason why is we can play Krennic on this turn and ping Super Laser Tech. That leaves us with 2 readied resources. Then on the next turn, we can run Krennic into something, dealing 2 damage, and he still survives. But it could also be a misplay, because the other thing that we could do here is Power of the Dark Side and then ping Super Laser Tech. But I think that this was an okay move. You could disagree, and I wouldn't fault you for it. So our opponent actually trades into our Scanning Officer, taking 2. Now, this is actually really nice for us because we can ping Scanning Officer into Liberated Slaves and play Krennic. Krennic can actually defeat and survive Liberated Slaves. So we pop the Scanning. I put it in my discard, but I will put it in my resource row here in a second. I'll figure it out. And the card that we draw off is Vigilance, which is nice, but we saw what it did to me in the last game. So our opponent plays 3 for Falcon. Now, it would have been nice if we could have defeated the Liberated Slaves to force them to pop the Falcon here, but we play out Krennic. And we're probably going to do what we said we were last turn. We're going to take the 3 from the Falcon. Don't waste the Unexpected Escape. We know what we need that for. And on the next turn here, the plan is you run into Liberated Slaves with Krennic. If they bring Millennium Falcon back to hand, that's good for us, because if they play Han, he gets Power of the Dark-Sided. If they leave Millennium Falcon out, it is also good for us, because we Power of the Dark Side the Falcon and have resources left over to Unexpected Escape Han to prevent the DJ flip. Our draw is direct hits and no glory only results. So we put the direct hit into the resource row because Han does not run scary vehicles, even though we do see the Falcon out. A 3/4 Falcon isn't that scary. And we kind of already have a way to deal with it in hand. This is also really nice because technically we have 2 answers to DJ this turn. They also can't really prevent it at any point now, because once Han gets to the 5 resource turn, he doesn't have tech out, he needs to play all 7 resources to DJ us. All we have to do is just hold our stuff in hand. If he ramps up to 7 and DJs us, well, we've already ramped to 6, so he takes 1 resource, we can still no glory only results, which is really nice for us. So they actually do return the Falcon back to hand, and they're at 5 resources and we're at 6. So we do trade Krennic into liberated slaves here. This is nice. The board is clear. He actually right now cannot flip Han. We're in a golden position. If he flips Han on an empty board, we just power the dark side to pop Han and bring him back. He can't get his double ramp off. We also have unexpected escape if he plays something else. But even if he plays something else and we unexpected escape Han, he still wouldn't have 7 open resources because he had to have played something. So he does do his Han thing to put a card in the resource row. And I just pass to him. I make him do something because we're a reactive deck, not a proactive deck in the beginning. And he plays the Falcon, which is really good for us, because now he only has 3 resources. So I'm going to go ahead and power of the dark side the Falcon here. So he's going to flip Han. Now, if he attacks with Han, he gets 4 resources, and that lets him play like Kira or something like that. We've already prevented the crucial DJ turn, which is his double ramp flip turn. On the next turn, yes, he can run into our base with Han and then play DJ out, but we have more resources to actually answer the DJ with no glory only results in hand. And I don't want this board to get any bigger for him. So I actually unexpected escape Han. That way he can only play a 3-cost card, which is most likely a 3/5 on the ground, since we already took care of the Falcon that we've seen. And he claims. So that means he doesn't have a 3-cost in hand most likely. And this is super good for us. Now, I did forget to ready Palpatine at the beginning of the turn. I decide here that I want to draw cards. We only have 2 cards in hand, and I like to have more cards than my opponent. The other reason I'm doing this is by popping Director Krennic here, I deal 1 damage to Han and draw a card. If I draw Takedown, on my next turn, we can just take Han down, and I'm kind of digging for answers to try and defeat this Han as cleanly as possible. I did have to think about it in the original game, though. And I draw Resupply Carrier, which isn't terrible. You can think of Resupply Carrier as a 4/5 that also kind of like semi-prevents a DJ, just because you get to ramp and you also get the 4/5. And then if they DJ you, well, you ramped anyway. So we get Resupply and Super Laser Blast. So we are now at 7 resources, and our opponent is at 6, but he has the capability to ramp with Han. The thought process here, I got rid of the Resupply just because we really didn't have anything else to play with it, but I probably actually should have resourced Resupply Carrier and kept Resupply, because we can bluff with the open 4 resources like we had at Takedown if we actually had it. On the flip side, though, with Resupply Carrier, we're at 7 resources now. So if we play the Resupply Carrier, we would go up to 8 resources. Then we can actually pop it to draw an extra card. So it's, do you want to bluff with 4 open resources that we don't have the mana to use? Or do we want to draw a card and still ramp? And you might be asking, well, aren't you still scared of DJ? Don't you want the no glory only results in hand? And the answer is no, because as soon as I Resupply Carrier, even if he hits me with a DJ, on the very next turn, we go to 8 resources because I ramped this turn. And he doesn't set me back from my leader flip. And it's essentially like I didn't ramp. But we have Super Laser Blast. So if he DJs us on the next turn, we clear the board, they play their cards out, we claim again, and we go to 9. We know that we have no glory only results in hand. And we're going to draw ideally 3 more cards, because we're going to get the 1 card draw from Resupply Carrier. And I'm kind of happy with that. I feel like that's a pretty good position for us. And I like to draw cards, so I'm going to go play Resupply Carrier and do the play line that I said. We're going to pay 6 to play out the Resupply Carrier. And then we ramp to 8. So even if they DJ us, on the next turn, we still get to go to 8. And that's why I'm not worried. Now, I did say all that before, but Han does run into us first for 4 and goes up to 7. And then we actually do play that Resupply Carrier. they play Emphas Nest here to bounce me back to hand. Now, I was always worried about DJ, and I never really considered Emphas Nest, because Emphas Nest probably their scariest card that they have towards us, because if they DL44 Blaster it and then Surprise Strike it, they can even bounce our big stuff back to hand. But technically, we still have Super Laser Blast for next turn, so I could wipe this board clean and have no issues. Now, I want to warn you, this next play in this next turn is comical, and you're going to think I'm crazy, but, you know, whatever. I am crazy. I want to steal this Emphas Nest, and I draw Scanning Officer and Super Laser Tech. I resource the Super Laser Tech, and I think to myself, Han runs a lot of smuggle cards. If I play the Scanning Officer out and they bounce it with Emphas Nest, I'll just play it again and see if I can hit more resources and just try and obliterate their resource row and check for smuggle cards. And then what I'll do is, after I play it the second time, because we're at 9 resources, I'll just pop it for 1, steal their Emphas Nest, draw a card, hopefully it's a 4-cost card, and then I can play like a takedown on Han. That's kind of the idea here. It is a little bit of a gamble. I'm only at 7 damage right now. I could mitigate all this 7 damage just with a Super Laser Blast, and then follow it up on the next turn with a No Glory Only Results and a Scanning Officer into a leader flip to steal whatever they play next. That would be the smart play, but I'm not a smart man, so I'm going to do the Scanning Officer play just because I think I'm so far ahead, and let's just see what they have in their resource row. I would not do this play in a tournament. I would probably just play it safe, Super Laser Blast, move on to the next turn, try and draw our big ships and close this puppy out. So I play the Scanning Officer, and we hit a DL44 Blaster, which is actually like kind of big, because they are probably going to DL44 Blaster their Emphas Nest, and then they can kind of bounce 6 attack of my own cards back to hand, which doesn't bounce anything extra, but if they then sneak attack, they can bounce 9 attack cards back to hand, and that can bounce everything but my Devastators. So they actually now Surprise Strike Emphas Nest into my base, and they do bounce my Scanning Officer. So I play Scanning Officer again, and I actually hit nothing. And at this point, I'm a little committed to this stealing the Emphas Nest play. And they pay 4 to Cunning Han. So Han, I think Cunning gives +4 or +3. I can't remember off the top of my head. I play Scanning again, and I don't hit anything again. Not like it would have gotten rid of any of his resources, but I don't hit a DJ, I don't hit a tech, I don't hit anything. So they hit my base, and now I'm at 23. And now I'm going to Palpability and finally pop the Scanning Officer to put 1 on Emphas Nest. And I actually do draw the takedown, except I don't have the resources to play it anymore. My opponent claims. So I flip Palpatine out. And this is a pretty cool play. I take the Emphas Nest, but instead of using it for myself, I actually run Palpatine into Han, and I do take the 8 damage. But I pop Emphas Nest to draw a second card and deal 1 extra damage to Han to get rid of him. So yes, my Palpatine is severely injured, but Han is gone. And you can think of it like the only real threat into my Palpatine right now is the Han Solo unit, which does 6 attack. So even if Han wasn't cunninged up, I would go to a 4/6, and the Han unit would have been able to ambush and defeat my Palpatine anyway. And I think this is a good play. Clear his board, have a unit on my side. I have all the removal in the world. I have healing, and I can hopefully draw a big ship because we haven't really seen one yet. The card that I draw from popping Emphas Nest is Pike Sentinel. I do have the 2 resources to play it, so I'm gonna play it to try and insulate my Palpatine from the Han Solo unit. It also might allow me to pop something and deal another 5 damage. It would allow me to defeat a DJ if they pull one out, a tech if they pull one out. I draw Vader and Relentless, and I'm breathing a huge sigh of relief here. I'm resourcing the resupply carrier because I think it's too little too late, and our opponent has initiative, and our opponent is sitting at 8 resources, but he can go up to 9. So they pay 3 for Bodhi, and they take our Vigilance. And that hurts, but it's not the end of the world. Yes, it would have been a heal 5 and it would have been nice, but it is what it is. And remember, I have taken 16 unnecessary damage. If I just Super Laser Blast, yes, they also play differently. I would have had removal in hand and still have my leader flipped. I think I misplayed to put me at 23 damage, but I do think I was so far ahead that making them waste all the pumps and everything last turn wasn't the end of the world for me. But it was a misplay. I will concede that it was a misplay, but it was funny. So we play Relentless. This way, they can't do any waylays, they can't do any combat tricks, and that's really what I'm worried about here. If Han can't play events, he kind of can't do anything special. His deck relies on Cunnings and waylays and things like that, so we shut those off. Our opponent smuggles out L337. And we're going to run into base for 4. Our opponent claims we run into base for 2. Because we need to put pressure on him at some point. Our draws here are No Glory Only Results in Onyx Squadron Brute. I resource Super Laser Blast at this point because I don't feel like I'm going to be needing it. And having 2 No Glory Only Results to insulate from another Bodhi is kind of nice here. And we still have the takedown for Kira. So we have 2 ways to take down Kira so they can't shut off our hand anymore. All right, so they Bodhi into our Pike Sentinel. Puts Bodhi at 1 HP remaining. It would let me pop the Onyx Squadron Brute if I play it to take him out, but I take down L3. What I should have done is taken the damage most likely and ran Palpatine into base to put a little bit extra pressure to put them at 12, and then attack with Relentless to put them at 20. That's probably the proper play here, because my opponent could do something like this. He plays the Han unit, he attacks into Palpatine, and Palpatine's now defeated. And that's really rough. I know Glory only results the Han, and our opponent claims. We have 2 open resources and Relentless. So since our opponent claimed, we attack into base with Relentless, which puts them at 16. And then we play Onyx Squadron Brute out just to have an extra unit. I draw Dr. Pershing and direct hit. And we've got a ton of resources. And I did resource Dr. Pershing, which also may have been a mistake because I could play him out and then pop him to draw an extra card. But I was already planning on popping Onyx Squadron Brute here. And direct hits usually aren't that great into Han. Also want to say that I do misplay because if you think about if I attacked with Palpatine on the last turn, we would have him at lethal because there would be nothing he could do really to stop us. Because he would be at 20 damage and we would have 10 damage on board. So again, I do even misplay in this game that I'm winning significantly. I'm essentially trying to lose, it feels like. So our opponent fizzles a surprise strike. Now, I want to say, when I played this on Karabast, I missed that he fizzled a surprise strike. So I thought my Relentless was still up. And in a real game, I would actually swing with Relentless here. But I thought I was kind of impenetrable right now. And this is a complete my bad, just because I wasn't only half paying attention. I play the Vader and land a Pershing, and Bodhi goes away. Vader takes 3 damage, but now we have 4 units on board. And in my head, I thought we still had the Relentless protection, which we don't. And they do waylay Relentless back to hand. That is completely my bad. If I swing here, that puts him at 24, and the game is almost iced. I'm just misplaying like crazy. But it does show you the power of the deck, that even if you're a moron like me and pilot it terribly, you're still in a great position. 18 damage to base with Onyx Squadron Brute. Our opponent plays tech. I don't want any of that, so we know Glory only results tech just to get rid of it. So the opponent claims we draw Vigilance and Resupply. Again, resupply this late in the game just allows us to resource up for free because most likely we're keeping all of our good cards. And we have a ton of resources. I've lost track of how many we actually have. I forget to ready the board like always, but our opponent plays Commandeer and steals Onyx Squadron Brute. This isn't great for us. I really wanted that healing and I really wanted to pop him to draw more cards. We have Vigilance. I'm just going to go ahead and give us both healing. I get the better of the healing. Technically, it's a 7 health swing for me. He gets 2, so he goes to 16, and I go to 18. Our opponent has 5 resources up. He doesn't have anything scary, but he plays Kira and calls Relentless here. So I tap Pershing, and I deal 1 damage to Pershing, just so if I have to trade Vader into Kira here, Vader still survives, because I do think it's important to maybe get Relentless available to be played. The card we draw is Power of the Dark Side, though. So our opponent claims, and we just power to defeat Kira. That opens up Relentless to be playing on 9 instead of 12. We run Vader into base for 5 to put him at 21. If I didn't play terribly, I've currently missed 12 damage based on my misplays. So he should be at 33 damage right now. I draw Scanning Officer and Pike Sentinel here. I keep both ready up. The opponent plays Falcon, and I mean, this is kind of insult to injury, and maybe it's BM, but we direct hit the Falcon. I just don't want any tricks coming out at all. He plays the Lando's Pride Millennium Falcon, and I'm kind of digging for an answer just because, again, I don't want anything crazy happening to me. And I draw a Maul. So we run Vader into base, putting him at 26. Again, I've missed 12 damage this game. Our opponent claims, and we have just enough resources to play Relentless. So now we've shut off everything in his base. The only best play he has is playing the Jump to Lightspeed Han Solo on the Falcon and then attacking with it. But that does not defeat us. That doesn't get us to 35 HP on base. And on our first action with Vader, we'll be able to hit his base to ice the game. So even if you play terribly, this deck still functions insanely. One thing I want to highlight here is once you play Scanning Officer once, good Han players will almost sometimes keep DJ in hand and only play him if they have to. On the 5 resource turn, the tap with Han to put a resource from hand into your resource row, that is the time that some good Han players will put DJ down because it's their last opportunity, and it insulates him the best from Scanning Officer because now you have 3 in 7 chance instead of like 100% guaranteed like I did in this game. So sometimes it is good to hold Scanning Officers until the Han flip turn if that's your only option, to try and snipe a DJ at the very end. I feel like if you're playing against one of the top tier Han players, they're going to hold Hans because they know that Scanning Officers will be able to defeat them in the resource row. So don't get too early on your Scanning Officer plays, but that was a play I just couldn't pass up. Anyway, with that is the entirety of this video. I apologize that it was so long, but I wanted this to be a comprehensive view. If you got this far and liked the video, please consider subscribing. It would really help. This video took a long time and a lot of effort to put together. I hope this has been enjoyable, and I hope you learned something, and maybe you pick up this deck. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I'd love to talk about them with you. And have a wonderful day, and see ya.